All right, welcome back to another episode of the 9 Point Day podcast. I'm your host, Jacob Langworthy. Before we get started in the episode, I've got some housekeeping to do. I put some feelers out on Instagram to try to get some games that I want to promote on here for you guys, so you kind of have an idea of like where things are at and um, stuff like that, right? It's a good opportunity for ADs to kind of throw their games out there. So if they care enough to tell me to shout it out on here, that generally means that they are a concerned and active AD, which means that's good for you as an athlete. That means we're going to take care of you and things like that. All right, so let's get into them. I'm gonna go through the list here and try to go through pretty quick and not take up too much time because this episode is a long one. So here we go. The first one is the Breadalbane Gathering in May 24th. I can't read my own handwriting. It's May 24th in New York. The classes are all filled up. The only ones they have available right now are for the adaptive athletes. So if you are an adaptive athlete or know someone who is, you can sign up for that on heavyathlete.com or empirothrowingclub.com. Either one of those will get you to there, but all the classes are full except for adaptive athletes, so tell your friends. But that should be a really good one. Empire Throwing Club puts on good games, so if you're in the area and want to go watch, do that. Up next, these are no particular order based on date and whatnot. It's just kind of how I wrote them down. No Fame Games in Milford, Massachusetts, June 21st. The open class is full, so men's and women's open, those are full, and the rest of the classes there's still some spots available, so sign up for that. Just a quick note on No Fame Games, the home games in Milford. It is awesome. They are doing something big and better every single year. There's always something new, cool stones to lift, tons of interesting people that like, especially if you're not from the area and you're traveling from out of town, like, man, you just don't get these kind of people where you're from. Trust me. Sign up for that on Heavy Athlete. So, and you can find the link through the No Fame website. Up next is the Ohio Scottish Games, June 28th. You can sign up for that one on Sticks and Stones Heavy Athletics .com. I think it's .com. I could be wrong. I'm gonna try to plug them the links to all these down below in the description, so to kind of give you a place to go find them. The next one is the old Rhinebeck Aerodrome Highland Games, May 24th. They are full, but I'm just shouting them out because they want a shout out. If you're in New York, again, go to this games because it's cool. I looked them up because I'm not sure what an aerodrome was. It's like an airport where they have old timey planes. It's just a bunch of like biplanes and things like that. It's like you're the fucking Red Baron out there flying around. Very cool. Go see that. Next one. I'm going to be at this one as well, just like No Fame Home Games. I'll be there. I'm also going to Woodridge Farms. This is Woodridge Farms Highland Games and the Blue Ridge Championship. It is in Virginia, September 20th. So you got some time. But don't waste any time signing up. You can find them on heavyathlete.com. The next one is the Georgia Mountain Scottish Festival. It's going to be June 7th and 8th. It's a 2-day games in Georgia. And you can find that on Backyard Rebellion. I think all classes are still available. I don't think they're full yet. But again, don't waste any time. Go sign up. And that's it. That's it for the games I have. So our guest this week is, man, he's known as the People's Champ. He's been in the Highland Games for a very long time. And with that comes a lot of knowledge and a lot of opinions on the history and future of the sport. So welcome to the show, Matt Hand. Welcome back to another episode of the 9 Point Day podcast. I'm your host, Jacob Langworthy. And before we get started into the episode, I got some housekeeping to do. I put out some feelers on Instagram to try to get some ADs and athletes who are running games and they kind of want a shout out, right? Give the people listening an idea of like, what games are out there. What's great is if an AD is following me and wants me to shout out their games, that means they care. They care about you. They care about the sport. They care about the games enough so that they sent me a message, right? The little things. So that's good. I'm going to go through these games. They're not in any particular order based on date, just kind of hear one that's near you or one you want to go to, and jot it down. So the first one we got is the Breadalbane Gathering, May 24th. They are full, except for the adaptive athletes. So if you're an adaptive athlete or know one, send them over to this games. They have spots available, and it is a Empire Throwing Club Highland Games. So they put on a great games, as many of you know. But so check them out. You can sign up for that on heavyathlete.com, or you can get a link through empirethrowingclub.com. Up next is the No Fame Home Games, June 21st. Open class is full. But the regular classes, men's, women's, amateur, ABC, lightweight, masters, things like that, they're still available. So there are spots available in almost all the classes, I believe. So sign up for those. You can sign up for those at heavyathlete.com, or you can get a link through the No Fame Games website. A little note about No Fame Games, and specifically home games. The AD, Josh McIntosh, is doing something new every single year. He's always trying to build this festival. There's always something new to see. So if you went there last year, there's going to be something new this year. So come again, sign up for the games. June 21st, it's coming up quick. Don't waste any time signing up. Just get now. Do it now. Next, the Ohio Scottish Games, June 28th. You can sign up for this games at sticksandstonesheavyathletics.com. I think it's .com. I didn't write down the full URL because I'm clumsy like that. But I will try to tag them down below so you have a link to go to. So June 28th, sign up for that. And the next one we have is the old Rhinebeck Aerodrome Highland Games. Not a catchy name, but it is a Highland Games. And that is May 24th, so coming up real quick. This year, it was an invite-only games, so they are full. But come on out, because I looked at the venue. The old Rhinebeck Aerodrome is a very interesting place. Tons of old-ass planes, talking like the Red Baron style. Really neat. Check it out. Especially if you're in New York, why not go? Okay, your state's not that big, guys. Come on. Next, Woodridge Farms. I'll be there. Woodridge Farms. This is the Woodridge Farms Highland Games and Blue Ridge Championship. It is in Virginia on September 20th. You can sign up for that at heavyathlete.com, or again, there's a link. If you go to the Going Rogue website, there's a link to Heavy Athlete to sign up. Lots of spots still available. Don't waste any time. Sign up now. The last one on the list is the Georgia Mountain Scottish Festival. This is June 7th and 8th at the 2-day games in Georgia. You can find a sign up for this at backyardrebellion.com. Tons of opportunities still to throw there, so sign up now. And that's it. So this episode, we have a special guest. He is a 20-year veteran of the Highland Games. He's ran the ranks as an amateur, and he's been hanging out in the pro class for the last long while, as long as I've been throwing. With 20 years of experience, he has developed a wealth of knowledge of Highland Games and Highland Games history. And so it's a fun conversation. We cover everything from the history of the sport, who's on our professional men's Mount Rushmore, and the future of the games, the formatting of the games, the open class, things like that. A lot of stuff you guys want to hear about. So tune into that. Welcome to the show, Matt Hand.
I mean, we didn't get into these sports because we didn't like to eat food. So, I'm sure there's a lot of other options. There's a lot of, runners up, you just go, tacos. Tacos have the same versatility. Add a little spice in there. Technically, it's a little healthier,
I just came up with this one, too. I think breakfast would work. Just breakfast in general. Basic sausage, egg,
I'm
toast.
A big Brenner guy. Big Brenner.
Dude, my man.
Yeah.
Yeah, whenever...
Costco has been a savior through the last couple months, where the 18 pack of eggs is still or the 24 count eggs is still a reasonable price over there. So it's been a saver because I usually do 4 to 6 eggs a day. So yeah.
That's see, that's why I'm a fan of Brenner, because we have chickens. We got about 10 chickens that will lay 6 to 10 eggs a day. And I only eat 4 to 6 eggs a day. And so like some days we're like, we're getting backed up with eggs. We got to eat some of these. We're making omelets and I'm making sausage patties. That's Brenner.
Yeah. No, I love like like especially so where I grew up in upstate New York, big maple syrup area, and we would do, especially the early season Highland games. There was like you'd go do like one in March or April. There's a place out where I grew up called Cartwright's Maple Tree Inn, and they're only open from Valentine's Day to Mother's Day every year. And they've been open for like 160 years or something dumb like that. They're only open when the maple syrup is running. But like you can do literally an all-you-can-eat pancake there. So you
Nice.
you get your eggs and sausage at the beginning, and they just keep bringing pancakes until you tap out.
Yeah. Oh man, they're gonna lose money on me.
It's the move.
Yeah. Are you a fan of energy drinks? Do you like energy drinks?
Too much, unfortunately. That's,
Okay. What's your favorite? What's like the goat
yeah,
of
so I kind of
energy?
keep trying to change them up a little bit because like sometimes like you get like I think sometimes you can start getting dependent on whatever mix you have. At least that's the theory I have. The ones I like the most right now are the new Celsiuses, the ones that come in the bigger can.
Oh, I didn't know about these.
Yeah, because they have a good flavor. They're the sugar free, but like the small Celsiuses I don't like because they taste like the can. I think they taste like nickels. Where these bigger ones, you can find them at Target and the gas station. There's like 4 or 5 flavors, but like they have a nice kick to them. The flavors are good.
Yeah, that nickel taste. I think that's the caffeine. I've talked about this before, that caffeine does have a flavor, and Celsius.
Oh, sure.
For some reason,
But I
can't
don't
figure
taste
out how
it.
to
I
get.
don't taste it in other energy drinks, like and other like the other form of like the Celsius powder, which is pretty good. Like I don't taste it in the Celsius powder.
Okay, so maybe it's not the caffeine that I'm tasting, because
I think it's just cheap. I think it's just cheap materials.
yeah, like my beef with Celsius is just the fact that like it has that taste. No one else does that. Like Red Bull back in the day, I mean even Red Bull now, still even on their flavored ones have like that base Red Bull flavor, which is very caffeine heavy.
Yeah,
and they're not getting rid of it, and
I
I
think
don't
there was like
know
a
why.
like a Red Bull gets grandfathered in to like
Right.
listen. It kind of like just tastes like Jägermeister too. Like it's that same like this isn't. It's a flavor. I don't really know what it is, but it's a flavor, and we're just gonna slam it down and be ready to roll.
I convinced myself that like, oh, it's brewed. That's like Red Bull is brewed and not just mixed together. So like maybe that's what it is. There's like a little
Yeah, I
artisanal
like it.
aspect to it.
Listen, man, we got to tell ourselves things to get through the day. That's what it is. But yeah, no, it's between coffee and energy drinks. It is a very caffeine-driven life.
Hell yeah.
And every once in a while, I try to go like 2 or 3 days without any caffeine, just to like try to balance my life out a little bit.
Do you ever get like caffeine withdrawal headaches when you do that?
So the only time, and I stopped drinking these specifically, the only time where I had like adverse effects where like from like almost like felt like withdrawal was from the Bang energy drinks when they were really popular.
Yeah.
Like if I had those for like a couple days in a row, like the next I literally could feel my body craving one, and I'm like I don't like this feeling. I think we need to be done with these.
Yeah, I think those 300 milligram ones, I get kind of like dependent on them, where I'm having coffee in the morning and then I'm having 2 Reigns or 2 Bangs,
Yeah.
like in the middle of the day, and I'm like,
I do like
I
the
don't
Reigns
ne-
too.
I don't
Have you had
need
the
these.
Have you had the smaller Reigns, the Reign Storms?
Yes.
Big
Yeah,
fan
those
of
are good. The grape
fan.
flavor is actually pretty good because
Tastes like grape crush.
they're calling it Concord grape because it's not just regular grape. All the other grape flavors taste like they have that medicine grape tinge to them.
That one tastes exactly like grape crush.
Yep. Or grape
Great.
jam. Like it's pretty
Yeah.
close. My buddy was telling me that Rain, is it, I don't know, they're discontinuing all their products. This is news to me, but he's told it to me and he said it's for sure. So I trust him. But yeah, Rain
I
apparently
mean,
is
that
either
would be
out of
unfortunate,
business.
but
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know the. I know of some. I'm in finance for a living. I know some stuff ins and outs, but I don't know the profit margins on energy drink companies. So who knows?
Yeah, I remember a while ago, it was probably 2 or 3 years ago now, there was a lawsuit between, uh, I think it was Bang and Rain. I think
Yeah,
Rain was
for copyright
suing.
infringement.
Well, one of the claims was like false advertising because Bang was saying that Super CoQ10 in it, and they're like, that's not a real thing. You can't just say it's
Yeah,
Super
yeah.
CoQ10, and so and then they
They were
changed
just
it
mad that the
to
cans looked exactly the same with a different logo.
right. Yeah, it was
But
a
yeah,
whole thing.
my guess is the market's become so saturated because there's obviously you still have Red Bull, and then Red Bull's come out with all their flavors, and then Alani is in the game, and then Rain, and then Celsius, and then Bucked Up has gone from supplements to energy drinks too, and C4.
Yeah,
And then you go to like some of these like you when you travel the games and you're out in like the middle of like West Virginia, you're like, what the hell is this? Why does it have a snake on it? I'm gonna try
yeah,
it, but like, why does it
yeah,
have a snake on it? Like, does it bite? Like,
yeah.
but I've never seen this in my life. It's just some random like. I'm pretty sure there's sticks in this, but it's fine.
Yep. Yeah, I remember growing up. I used to go to AM PM all the time, and they had fountain energy drinks, and there was an orange one. Didn't taste like orange. It was orange colored, and which is not a good sign when it's orange colored but doesn't have an orange flavor.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But I'd go
It's
in there and
off-putting.
I'd go in there and get like 64 ounces of whatever that energy drink is, and just sip on that all day at like 13 years old, which probably not good. It probably
Yeah,
took some
yeah.
years off my life.
Well, I remember like when I was in college and stuff, like like as a college athlete, and Chill's trying to like do school and all that stuff. Like, well, I guess like I had a meet today, and I also have this paper due, so I'm on the bus. I'm gonna finish my paper, but I'm like, I guess I'm gonna drink the Monster Energy BFC, and we'll just see what like an energy drink that's supposed to take you like 2 days to finish, and drink it in like 40. Uh, and then like your eye, you can feel. For me, I know I'm over caffeinated when I can feel my eyeballs in their sockets. Like the
Yeah.
capillaries are so like flared up, I can literally feel my eyeballs moving around. I'm like, oh,
I miss the BFCs because the cans were ridiculous. Like they wouldn't
exactly.
fit in a cup holder. They're obnoxious and they were
And
very cool.
they didn't hide it either. Like just this is what we are. We are.
Yep.
I'm the BFC.
Yeah. I used to in the summer times, like when I didn't have school or anything like that, I'd be up like all night just like playing video games and whatnot. It'll be like 2 in the morning and I'll walk to the 7-Eleven at the corner and I will get a BFC at 2 in the morning like a
Yep.
tweaker.
Yeah, that was like that college level because I don't know what our age difference is. Like we would do like Halo 2 tournaments or whatever, and
Yeah.
then we'd go like, oh, okay, it's 1 in the morning, quick break. The 24-hour gas station was across the street. Hit that up. BFC or at the time Mountain Dew MDX was popular.
Yeah.
Just load up on Doritos and whatever caffeine you want and head back up.
Yep. Yeah, it was a BFC and a king size Snickers. That was just my 2 o'clock ritual. We're going over there. We're gonna
Yep.
refuel.
Those Cool Ranch Doritos was my go-to gaming snack, but I understand the need for the Snickers.
Yeah. So let's kind of get into your background.
Yeah, man.
How like what's like your sporting background? Did you grow up playing football or just track and field? How's that work?
Yeah, so the school that I grew up, so I grew up in a very, very rural and very small area. And so like the town, you're talking town about 900 people.
Oh yeah.
We didn't have football. So my main sport, I wrestled a little bit, so I have some wrestling background. But then the only main sport I did was track.
Okay.
And it was a track. We were the first track team the school ever had. So I went
Interesting.
in with, I had a coach my first year that actually knew the throws a little bit. So I understood how to do a power position. And then he got moved to another school. And then I was on my own for the next 3 years.
Interesting. did they ever try to make you run, or were you just throwing?
Every once in a while, I had to do the 100. And it was kind of fun because, like, which is good. Like, throwers should be able to do the 100. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's a thing, especially a high school athlete. You should be able to,
Yeah.
like, if you want to throw discus far, you got to be fast too. That is what it is. But in those smaller schools, what they would do is they would do like the first heat at the quad meets or whatever. They'd be like, all right, we want the two best runners from each school in this first heat. Well, we only had one other 100-meter runner. So I would end up being in the fast heat too. And these guys are like, they're jumping up and they're doing their leg stuff and they're getting in their blocks. And I'm just in a pair of Reebok street shoes and just like, they're not even running shoes either. They're literally just like, they're almost skate shoes, but not quite. The white ones with the little flag on them, and just like lining up like this, like talking mad shit too. Like, you guys, like, you're not even ready. Not just like trying to see if I can get them to false start or something to help my teammate out. But like, I'm like, this isn't going to go well for me, and it's fine. But you know, I think it's good. But like, yeah, no, I was a shot disc. But like, I was kind of self-coached from sophomore year on as well, which was good because it helped me develop my mind a little bit and the ability to learn, but bad because I was learning bad habits early on. It took a while to break them.
Sure. What were you using, like some kind of resource? Like, did you like buy some VHS tapes or something to kind of learn how
So
to do
yeah,
throws?
so because my high school years were pre-YouTube.
Okay.
So I graduated in 2005, and I'm pretty sure YouTube started in 2005.
Yeah, around there.
So we had our athletic director dug in the depth of storage and found an old VHS tape from the Arizona University coach that showed a little bit about the discus. So I was able to learn a little bit from that, but the footage was so broken up. There's really not much I could do with it. So I was smart enough to invest in a pair of shoes. So I threw in a pair of gold and black Mizunos.
Nice.
But after that, I was self-taught, and I would watch a lot of other throwers and just try to do what I can to watch and learn.
Nice. So did you just throw in high school, or did you make that into
No,
college?
so I ended up throwing in college. I didn't know I was going to throw in college. In my mind, I'm like, cool, my track career's done. Good with that. I went to college on an academic scholarship.
Nerd.
And I went to a smaller school that was up the road. They had a really good incentive for, like, if your grade is this and this for in-state students, full ride. So that was my main goal, is to, hey, get college paid for. We didn't grow up with a lot of money, so like just do anything you can to get college paid for. And so got that done. And that coach was really good. So it was a JUCO school that, from an athletic standpoint, that coach was really good at finding talent on campus. He's like, oh, hey, I have a 40 and 120 guy just kind of walking around campus. Let's bring him on, see what he can do. And then they found out, like, oh, you hit 40 and 120 with no coaching, and your 40 was from a standing throw. I didn't glide or shot. Like, I couldn't figure out the glide. But so I'm like, you know what? Standing throw. I'm placing and winning events until I get to, like, the higher ranks. It's fine. So I ended up going there and breaking the school record in the hammer my second year, which was cool. And I fell in love with the hammer once I got to understand that. So I was a JUCO All-American for hammer, and then I transferred to a Division III school after that, and I ended up qualifying for nationals 1 year in the weight up there.
Nice. Which one of the track and field throws, like, do you think best translates to Highland Games?
Well, based on, if I had to base it on all the pros that are here, I would say the hammer and the weight.
Okay, yeah.
Just based on what pros have transitioned out. And that might just be more coincidence than anything. But I think there's a general body awareness that comes with it. Because, like, for whatever reason, a lot of shot putters don't translate over to the stone. For a number of different reasons.
Right.
Either they're smoked, they got nothing left in the tank, or like they can't make that transition because there is a unique transition between grass and concrete. And that's why, like, whenever these guys, oh, dude, if this guy came over, he's going to blow the world record out his first game. I'm like, no, he ain't. Like, nope. It's a rock and it's on grass, man. It don't work that way. It takes time to develop that patience to be on the stone and the right stone to go with it.
Yeah, I mean, grass is tough, and being a shot putter, right? You have a ball that is a specific size, and there's very little variance in like between like what size one guy uses and the next guy. Like there's it's essentially the same thing, but like to then have to hold a stone that is like 260 millimeters, like
different every game you go to,
right? Like they just like it seems like they just can't comprehend that like, oh, it's not exactly the same. And so like when
I was present when the stone world record was broken. I was there. Because I did that. Like I'm pushing. So this is the end of my 19th year and the start of my 20th in June. So I've been around. I've seen some things. I'm very lucky to be through several generations of pros in my 20 years. To see the end of some greats, go through some greats, and then see another career of greats go through. So I've been blessed to see certain things like that. Like to be at that world record when it was broken was pretty cool.
So you think that stone record was good?
I know it was. And okay. I will say Nick Kahanick is one of my best friends.
Okay.
And I was there. The biggest complaint about that, like, oh, he threw it downhill. That was the biggest complaint. Then 2 years later, they held Masters World Championships at that field. Nobody was complaining at that point. It's in Buffalo, New York. Buffalo has 0 hills. It's a lake plain. Buffalo is flat.
Right.
There is 0. Now, I've seen games where Nick had thrown downhill. I was there for those, and they went far too. There are no hills on that field in Amherst, New York, and every master that was bitching about it was then there at that field 2 years later when they hosted Masters World Championships. And I made sure there were a couple of them that were making a big stink about it. I'm like, hey, I hope you know this is the field you were bitching about the entire time.
It's interesting.
And I will say, let me get one more on this.
Sure.
Nick was a 19-meter shot putter as a sophomore in college. He absolutely can go 63 feet.
Right. Yeah, the only reason I ask is because like I'm sure you know.
But it was a big stink because like there's a lot of people that didn't like Nick. So they tried to make a big stink about it. That's what it was.
That's fair. Yeah, I never met Nick, and I wasn't there, so like I don't have much to say. I just know what I've heard, and I mean, if it's flat, it's flat. I mean, I've been to Buffalo; it's flat.
Yeah, like if it was like closer where I grew up, now you're in the valleys and the hills, but that area of Buffalo, Rochester, Syracuse, it's all the glacier lake plains. There are no hills there.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, shot putters.
But
shot putters.
I think of like someone like Kevin Becker. Kevin Becker was a pure hammer thrower. I think he got damn near close to 70 meters in the hammer. And like, he just instantly transitioned to the Highland Games. Like his pop and speed, because of the timing that comes with the hammer. Colin Dunbar is a good example. Colin, obviously he lived at the Olympic Training Center. I just personally think, I think the hammer, if I had to pick one, but obviously like, one of the best throwers right now at the hammer was a javelin thrower, Nick Aston.
Yeah.
The especially now after a motorcycle accident, the 100% odds-on favorite to win Worlds right now was a very elite shot putter. And quite honestly, he might be the best glider, Highland Games or track and field in the country right now.
Yeah, I won't argue that for sure.
Yeah. I think you've seen a bunch. Discus doesn't always translate because I think discus throwers can't figure out the timing between weight to disc because they try to get it too far behind them because that's what they're natural to. So that, that's that. Now the ones that are really, really, really strong translate, but Yeah, so I'd say that's probably the one you don't see as much. But I don't think it doesn't mean that they can't. You just don't see it as much.
Right. Yeah, and like on Vlad, like I think he's able to transition from a shot put career into Highland Games fairly easy
Yeah,
because I mean dude's an animal. He wants it, so he can work for it.
yeah.
He's not
He works
there's
very hard
no
at it.
yeah, there's no barrier that's too hard for him. He will push past
No,
it.
he worked very hard at it. He brings the Eastern Bloc lifting mentality to it of just getting strong at any cost.
Training in a
And he's
dungeon.
6'6". You know what I mean? Like don't
Yeah.
like this. Life's unfair. He's 6'6". He's going to throw far just by being that tall.
Yeah. He better.
Yeah, but like unfortunately, he dumped his motorcycle, and that's probably going to put a hurting on his chances for Worlds.
You know
Like yes, he
what's
can get back, but that's a big ask.
you know what's the weirdest fucking thing? It was the
The
day
fact
before.
that he posted his video shirtless, his recovery video, he was doing his and he was sitting next to a bottle of vodka and lotion. Is that the weird thing? Because that's what I thought was weird.
I no, I mean that's not what I was going to bring up, but that is weird for sure. What I was going to bring up, and this is just a weird thing. Like I had he posted a video of him riding his bike, and I just said like in my head, I was like, that's fucking risky. He's gonna take a spill one of these days.
Yeah.
The next fucking day, and I was like, did I do that? Did I will that? I didn't mean to.
Yeah,
But it was
no,
just
I mean, you
weird
never-
coincidence.
It just, I mean, that's motorcycles, and like I don't know how Vlad drives. If he drives like he lifts and lives life, you know what I mean. But who knows? You know what I mean. You can't say because obviously being a motorcycle is just a natural risk that comes with it anyway.
Yeah. I mean, it's a fucking Harley. You know he's just blasting music, like 80s rock music on that thing. You know he is.
You know, but like I honestly, if for me, like I think, you know, like we just came out of, you know, an era that was the John Van Buren era, and that's done now.
Is
and
it
I
done?
think in reality, I think it's probably done. I could be wrong, but I think it's probably done. I hope it's not. I really like John.
Right.
And quite honestly, like John is, we should all be embarrassed how badly John beats all of us
Yeah.
because I know how much or how little work he puts into it, but he is a freak and he's determined. He has those two things.
Yeah.
And he has 3 world championships to go with it. But I personally believe as long as his knees stay healthy, we are entering the Kyle Lilly era of Highland Games.
I can't argue with that. I think the only thing that would slow that down is if John just decides to come back. But even then, I don't think he's going to have the same attitude that he did before. I think it's if he ever comes back, it's going to be very casual, very. I'm going to do what I need to do to get by and just kind of have fun.
Yeah, I think Kyle
like
has a couple advantages that people. One, he's a full-time throws coach, so his mind is always around it. Has the facility to practice when where he wants, as long as he's not on recruiting trips. But as well, he like all that damage he did last year, like he's gonna break 100 feet in the lightweight this year. He's casually hitting 95s in practice now.
You think he's going to go over 100?
He will break 100 this year.
Where do you think that's going to happen?
Well, most likely would be Estes.
Okay, that's what we're
The
speculating.
Sputnik weight. I think Estes would be the most likely with that particular weight. But I think, to be very honest with the way he's practicing, honestly, it could be with a tire in a parking lot. I think with him, because he's not putting comp energy into it yet, and he's a gamer. And like, I only know Kyle through the games. We've become friends and stuff like that, but I only know him through the games. I find it odd that we're not embracing him that we would other like, hey, this guy's about to be a world champion. So I don't, you know what I mean? Like, so I find that kind of odd. So I'm trying to like champion for him a little bit.
I think some of that too is just because we're coming out of that John Van Buren era, and like season's just barely getting started.
Yes.
And he doesn't have that title yet, that one world title.
Yeah, no, and that's because he's got a lot of twos at all these places right behind John, and John's a big, tall, handsome son of a bitch and all that stuff. You know what I mean? Like it's hard to argue with that, and the back flips and all the stuff. Like it makes for good crowd stuff. All that, it's a good time. Good times were had by all.
Yeah, and I don't know. Yeah. Anyways, how did you get into the games? Was there did you know about it when you were throwing in college, or did you just
So
stumble upon
yeah,
it
so
one
I
day?
kind of had a unique path. I guess not necessarily unique, but so there was a local festival near where I grew up, south of Rochester, New York, at like one of those antique villages, like those living villages, like they're blacksmith and they still make them talk like blacksmiths type thing, and kids just mess with them, that type of thing. But they would host a Celtic festival once a year, and my dad loved going there because my family, they're big. My dad's side big into their Scottish heritage, all that stuff. So we would go as kids to that, and that's where I got exposed to watching the games because they would all go want to go watch the Pipers and go do the Village. I literally would sit and watch the athletes the entire time. So this would have been the era of me watching them. Would have been like the Ryan Vieira era throwers. Maybe a little pre-Ryan, like might be Jim McGoldrich, that type of thing. But you're talking about Harvey Barkowskis from Canada, he's a Hall of Famer. You're talking Dan Markovic, who was a multiple-time Canadian champion, but then also you can find videos of him in the old World's Strongest Man. He was the enormous man with a big mustache, big giant goofy mustache in those old videos. But like that was the same as like Bill Kazmaier that time frame. Like he was at those competitions I would watch, and I just remember as a kid, like these are the biggest guys in the world, like, and some of them were, but just as a small kid watching, I loved it, and I always kind of in my mind like I'd love to do that one day, and that actually is what got me interested when in track. Well, we did a track unit in high school, and I was like, I think this is the sport I want to do, because I wasn't necessarily like I didn't want to necessarily do a team sport. I didn't really like the soccer team. I didn't really like the baseball. Like, that wasn't really my thing. But I'm like, oh, track, I get to do an individual sport. And because I was really strong, I would do because I was at the fire department, so you're active every weekend. You're, lifting, generators and stuff like that. So like you get a natural strength just by doing that stuff. The track unit went really well for me. I'm like, I think I'm going to try that. And I got done. I'm like, you know what? Maybe I'll try the Highland Games one day. And it just happened to be one of my people that I competed against in high school. His dad was the AD for that area. So I called him up and he got me into my first games, and I won did my first games. I felt brave enough after my freshman year of college. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, all right, cool. I've thrown the 35-pound weight and I've thrown the collegiate weight implements. I'm like, cool. The 35 to the 56 isn't as big of a jump as nothing to 56. So I was like, now you still knew nothing about it, but I was like, all right, cool. Like, let's do it. Let's sign up for my first one. And I've been doing it ever since. So like June 6th will start my 20th year.
Wow. It's a long time. So like watching like your first games and you're talking like, it's like kind of like Ryan Vieira, kind of pre-Ryan Vieira era. Did you ever see, I'm trying to think of his name. I've gotten it wrong a few times. Dave McKenzie? Have you seen this guy?
No, so Dave McKenzie's a slightly older generation than that. So I know Dave McKenzie. Obviously, like many of us have met his daughter, Heather. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think Dave was probably a slightly older, would have been old during that generation. Yeah. So he might have been throwing still at that point, but I don't think I ever saw him.
I've watched a video just recently. I was going back through. People are going to get tired of hearing about this, but I keep watching them. Like vintage Highland Games
it's my first
on
time,
YouTube.
so I'll act all brand new the first time around.
So like I've been going through like Ryan Vieira's old YouTube channel, and that's linking me to like a bunch of other like early 2000s, like 1990s, 1980s, like Highland Games footage. And Dave McKenzie had the absolute craziest start to his weights. It'd be like a weird like hammer, like one turn.
Like this?
And No. Like he would, God, I will post a video,
We
on
post.
Monday.
I'll comment on it later.
I'll post this on Monday when it drops. And,
All right.
cause it is the craziest start to a weight. One false move and you're locking your ankles up and you're just tumbling over. It's crazy cool. And I'm like,
All right.
I want to try it.
Well, like 'cause the area I was in, because so growing up near Buffalo and Rochester, a lot of the athletes that we would see were the guys from Ontario, Canada. So I know a lot of those old Canadian pros because games in Ontario I call them Diet Scotland games.
Okay. Yeah.
Because like they're treated in that way. The games are run very similar. The festivals are done very similar, but also like a lot of the people that are in Canada, they're retired British people and retired Scottish people, so they're running it in that capacity. And there's a little more reverence for the game than you would at some like random festival somewhere.
Yeah, and I've kind of heard that about just games in Canada in general. That
Yeah, they're fun. Good time.
They're really
fairly
like
well organized. So every year, so especially since I've turned pro, I go back home in June, and I do Georgetown, Ontario, and Port Hope, Ontario, in back-to-back weekends.
yeah.
They're not neither of them are necessarily great paying games, but I can put them back to back. Then I can like justify the trip.
Sure.
But also it's a good chance for me to go see the parents, see a bunch of my old friends, compete. Oh hey, it's a game where I'm not competing against the 6 best guys in the world for the 4th week in a row. Cool.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? It's just like, oh hey, cool. Yeah, no, you are good at this. You've just been going against gods and monsters for the last 4 months.
Yeah, I feel that.
Yeah. No, as a lightweight who's turned pro, I know you felt that.
Yeah, it's tough. But
Like,
I mean,
you know what I mean? Like one of my favorite things, and this because amongst the pro class, I'm one of the shortest pros. Because fresh off the chiropractic table, I'm 6'1".
yeah.
After squat day, I'm probably 6 foot. You know what I mean? Like that, I'm losing my inches here, but like it just doesn't. I can't explain the feeling of being a 300-pound grown adult with the weightlifting numbers that I have, and then standing next to Colin Dunbar, and like I can't explain that feeling to somebody.
Yeah.
Because I don't even think Colin would have to throw to be a crowd favorite. All he has to do is just exist, and the crowd loves him. And he's a great dude and all that stuff. But it's like trying to describe that feeling to somebody that isn't in that they don't get it.
Right. I like to tell people I'm 6'1" in the morning, and then round noon we're touching 6.
Yeah. I gotcha.
Yeah. Which I'm not very tall, and like there's only a few of us in the pro circuit that are 6 foot and under. There's only a few. Everyone else.
Yeah, that's. I really love when Danny Autry comes to games because he makes me feel tall.
Yeah. I don't know if I feel tall around him. I feel like an equal. We're in this together.
We have and I'll send it to you after this if you want to use it. We have a picture from the pros at Pleasanton 2 years ago, and it's me and Danny, and then it's with Colin at 6'8" or 6'9", John at 6'7", 6'8", Aaron Castle at 6'6", Eddie at almost 6'6", and there's Glenn. Glenn's like 6'3", 6'4", Glenn Neese. Peter is also, he's close to 6'6", and it's like, man, this is dumb.
Yeah.
This is real dumb.
Yeah, it's like they're your uncles. I've got one of those pictures.
That's fine. I very happy with my choice to turn pro. It was the best decision I made in the games. I got peer pressured by some old pros. I got some good advice. Glad I did it. So no complaints.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Going pro's the best.
Yeah, it's
at a certain point. Like if you can hang in the game and be willing to not compete 15 times a year like you did before, it's the move.
Yeah, they just said like my best year as a pro, I think was like 12 or 13, and that's okay. Quite honestly, it's better. My as an amateur, I think one year I hit like 21.
Right. Yeah, I think the most I've ever gotten were 14 or 15 as an amateur.
Yeah.
But I mean, even as a pro these days, like I don't know if anyone's hitting 10 games anymore. That's not really a thing.
No, I think you're talking 10, 12 at most. When that's because a lot of pro games have dropped off. A lot of festivals have dropped off. I think that's going to start getting into a slightly deeper conversation there, but we lost a big one this year, and that's has nothing to do with the athletics. It was mismanagement of money at the highest end. Lose Phoenix.
Yeah. Yep, that was a bummer.
Yeah, super bummer. Because that's I just got pencil that one in. Like, all right, cool. Like me and Eddie are boys. So I know I got that invite. Like I always open up well. I always put on a good show. So I know which games I'm going to get my invites back for because I work for it. But it's a great season opener. It's like, cool. This shows you where your off-season training was, what we need to work on. But now this year will be the latest I've ever started, probably since my first year.
Yeah. I had. I had it written down on my calendar on my phone, but it was gray because Eddie told me, he's like, we're going to try. Don't hold your breath. And I was like, okay. And then he texted me a month later and he's like, sorry, it's not happening. I'm like, okay, that's fine.
And
that's fine.
for the best, because Eddie, the undertones of the Eddie ended up saving a lot of us by making sure we didn't get signed up.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a, and that, man, that was a
He's
good
a real
field.
one.
I like that field a lot. Because they've got grass that we just don't have here in the Midwest. You can kick in with hammer blades very well.
Because I think all that grass is from somewhere else. That grass like that doesn't grow in the desert. But nothing there should exist except rocks and cactuses. That place is That's fair.
Well, they say on King of the Hill, it's a testament to man's arrogance.
That's right. Yeah.
But good time of year for it. What's your first game this year?
Albuquerque. Rio Grande
Albuquerque.
Festival.
Yeah.
Yes. Did that for the first time last year. I've known Mona for almost as long as I've been doing the games. But that was my first time making it down there, and they just do a phenomenal job.
Yeah.
Well run from top to bottom. And it's kind of a unique fairground. So it's a challenging setup, but they do the best with it that they can. And they excellent that they do. So, and their field records are insane.
I bet.
Oh, their field records are when I looked at them, I'm like, these might be the best field records in the world. Like top to bottom.
Mm-hmm. Well, if I recall, McKim was there throwing hammers, when he was
so
crushing
McKim has a field record over 150 in the light, and over I think it either is over 130 or it's damn near close in the heavy. Because I think at one point he might have had the world record there before he rebroke it in Utah.
I think that's true. That's true. There's a 90-foot lightweight on there, 90-plus feet lightweight on and the heavyweight I think was pushing 50 feet as well. Mm-hmm. The open stone was, I think, 60. Now we did see Kyle that last year broke the Braemar at 45, and he did break the sheaf because it was 33, and I think he got 35 that day. So we saw two break, but now the standard is even higher. Yeah. Yeah.
But top to bottom, I would argue that they have the best field records of anybody in the country.
Yeah, it depends. I'd say Utah would also be up there as well with.
Yeah, because obviously they have Spencer. Spencer broke the world record there, and I think Dan broke both of his there too. So probably a good fair argument.
Yeah, and they were on a killer run for a lot of years of just the best pros showing up there. So.
Yeah. Well, I think timing wise, I think that's one of the reasons Albuquerque's are so timing wise. It's kind of a nice standalone game.
Yeah.
And I think, you know what I mean? So I don't know Ryan Stewart that well, but I think he does a lot to make sure the best equipment is there, and I think that's why they do throw well there.
I don't think Ryan Stewart's running equipment for Utah anymore.
Oh, well, I mean, I'm just looking in years past. I assume he has something to.
Well,
he's kind of the godfather of Utah athletics.
Yeah. Well, so I was gonna say is I knew Ryan had those half-inch handle, like half moon lead head hammers that we had lightweight nationals there 2 years ago, and I was like, oh, dude, I'm gonna fucking throw some bombs. And I'm like looking around for them. I'm like, where are they at? And they're like, oh, those are Ryan's. They're not here. And I was like, oh,
yeah, got it. Fuck. Bummer.
No, okay.
Yeah, no,
that's fine. I'll do my best.
That happened to me at the last time. I think you were there too. The last time we were all out at No Fame. That the big year where like we had 10, 12 pros there. You had Scott there for the lightweights, and then a big lightweight class too.
Yeah.
And then because I had. Jed Lamont has a copy of my hammers. So the same guy that made my hammers, Jed loved them. He bought his own. So Jed had his hammers. I'm like, they're exactly the same as I have. There's a nice half-inch pipe. It's a nice dense ball. And I was like,
Scott ruined it for you.
No Fame. And Scott broke it before we ever got to touch it. So we threw these bricks on sticks. The rest, I was so mad. I was like,
yeah,
bless. Like good for Scott, but like fuck you, Scott.
Yeah, it was bittersweet.
But also I love you.
Yeah,
I mean that's one of the few guys that's been in this almost as long as I have.
Right. And so yeah, it was bittersweet because Scott, or I had the heavy hammer world record at the time, and
I remember
he fucking smoked it. And like,
yeah,
and I'm gonna be honest, like where I set my hammer record, like it wasn't flat, like it wasn't uphill, like it was generous in my favor, and then he goes on the flattest fucking ground and just annihilates it.
Well, just like because he is a shark in the wild. Like there are no bones in his body. The way he bends and hammer, he looks like he's 100% made of cartilage.
Yeah. Well, he does what I think you need to do to throw big hammers is break yourself. You don't worry about like protecting yourself in any way. It's for the throw. You give it up for the throw.
Yeah, and that's where like I've noticed for me, like so like one year, one of my last years as an amateur, I led the country for amateurs in light hammer, and I've struggled to get back up to that distance. But because like I've put so much into getting heavier and stronger so that I can compete in the heavyweight and not get destroyed by it. Like, but that's where I've lost is in specifically the light hammer. I've lost like the same whip and reach that I had when I was like 260 versus almost 300.
Yeah, being big and broad will never help with hammers, and that's unfortunate. Being a 6 foot tall pro.
Yeah, like you're kind of well, and that's where like then you have like unique guys like so I don't know if you ever met this guy Jay Sullivan or Jake name. Sullivan. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so like Jake Sullivan is probably one of the best pros that's ever existed that has 0 titles to his name.
Yeah,
because he was 3rd place during the greatest era of Highland Games in Dan versus Matt.
Right. Yeah, that's
like you have a guy dropping high 140s in the light hammer, big 40-footers in heavyweight, competitive and across the board, never won it. Like because you're in like you got a guy that won 2 world championships and a guy that won 4 world championships during your prime. Like and like Dan McKim is like and not it like is God's perfect thrower. If you had to design a Highland Games thrower, he would look like Dan McKim.
Yeah, he's your Build-A-Care character, and it's all set to 10, everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Let's kind of get into it.
To me, Dan, in my opinion, Dan's the GOAT. In my opinion.
Yeah, so like I've had this discussion with a lot of people because it comes down to 3 people. It's or 4 if you want to count Donald Denny.
Sure.
Some do. I mean, he's got more games than anyone, but it was him and 2 other people. essentially.
Right.
But so the three that we discuss a lot, it's Dan McKim, Spencer Tyler, and Ryan Vieira. In like,
Yeah.
it's going
So
to be those three.
I equate. So it honestly, I find it easier to relate the top pros to the top basketball players. A lot of times to the other top athletes in many ways.
Yeah.
I find that like Dan is kind of our Michael Jordan. Like kind of had a perfect run. Like, and at his prime, when he was winning world championships, there was also another really good pro that culturally speaking is more relevant than any other pro in Matt Vincent. He had four world titles, a bunch of Celtic titles, and still holds 2 world records. I equate Spencer more to Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson's prime. It was short, but there was nobody more dangerous than Spencer in Spencer's prime. Unfortunately for Spencer, he only has 1 world title to show for it. That's where like you have like Spencer has the world records, which is great, but because of decisions and certain things, Spencer only has 1 world title.
What do you think about Vieira? What basketball player?
I think Vieira, to me, like if you're doing the Mount Rushmore, Vieira is Abraham Lincoln, and I think Dan McKim would be George Washington if you had to order it that way.
Sure. I would agree with all these things. These are good things.
I think Spencer can be a cool ass Teddy Roosevelt.
I was hoping you were going to say that Vieira was going to be like, I don't know, like Larry Bird or something.
Well, yeah, I mean that would actually kind of be a good equivalent because there was really good throwers at that time. Like Francis Bremner was a great thrower. He was an awesome thrower at his time. And you had some of these guys I do forget their names, but you had like the dude that was that did the 3 turns in the weight, who was throwing bombs. Mm-hmm. You had Alistair Gunn. You had the Giant Slayer at that time frame, and he, you know what I mean, like he was a killer.
I saved a picture, a screenshot of Alistair Gunn's hammer release, so I can send it to people and be like, "This is what you need to do. This release is finished like that."
Yeah,
do that.
He's
you're
just
good.
better than you, and you're not going to be able to do it. Just, you know what I mean? Like, so, like Ryan was in a really tough era too, and obviously, like Ryan, you know, like has a lot of because like he was one of the few people that got major sponsorships for what he did. Yeah. You know, like there's that YouTube video of him throwing his 151 at a halftime show at a Stanford football game.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, and he was on the Scotch bottles and stuff like that. I think Ryan was more culturally relevant than Dan was. Even though Dan is more culturally relevant now, his post-career internet career is the greatest. It's fantastic.
Oh, well, my dad and my brother like send me his stuff. Like, do you know who this guy is? It says he does Highland Games. Yes. And I was like, yes, yes, I know who he is. The GOAT.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, no, he's awesome. And honestly, he's the type of guy, like he's busy, so he takes a while to get back because of the job at Sornex. But like he's always been gracious enough to help out with little things as well. If you have a technical question, like that's like it's kind of what you want your world champions to be. You want them to be a champion of the sport as well, not just a champion. And Dan was everything you could have asked for. So to me, Dan's the GOAT. I think to me, there's no debate on that one.
He's answered every one of my messages that I've sent him. I don't send him anything anymore. I don't want to bother him. I'll figure it out myself. Yeah. But when I first started, I'm like, I recognize this name. Send a message.
Shoot him a message. Like, what's the worst that can happen? Yeah.
Yeah, they're brief, but he
think
responds.
Spencer is in a unique spot in the history of Highland Games because he was in his, and that's why I think Mike Tyson is actually kind of an apt comparison for Spencer. Mm-hmm. In Spencer's prime, he was unbeatable by any measure. And I did, back when I used to write blog posts, I did an article on like Spencer's peak, that one year where he broke several world records at once, and we created a NASCA score that just literally will never be repeated.
Yeah.
It would take such an elite level athlete to come out, stop whatever sport they're doing, trained specifically for the Highland Games for 2 to 3 years to ever come close to that year.
Right. Yeah. He had a nasty run there for a while. And here's the thing too.
He's still good.
He
With
I'm,
a torn
he,
pec, he's
he
still
can't-
good.
Yeah, he can't come back and do what he did, but he will rub it all in our faces that like he's like, I haven't touched an implement in 18 months, and I'm gonna one turn 85 feet in the
Yeah.
lightweight. Watch me.
Like, and and quite honestly, like, there was a good chunk of the beginning part of his years, of his pro years, where he was still drinking and smoking, and like, you know what I mean? Like, what could have been?
Yeah, my first one of my first memories of Highland Games is watching Spencer throw heavyweight and then just ripping darts on like right outside the trig.
Yeah, I mean, it's very Scottish of him. That is very Scottish. Is you want a dart? No, I'm good, man.
Yeah. It
But,
was
no,
quite
I think
impressive.
like I think I think Spencer has done enough to get himself on the Mount Rushmore. Obviously, he would love for one more world title in there, but like you add in the Celtic titles and the world records, I think there's enough to say so. And I would say for me, you have to have somebody from the UK on there. I would, me personally, I'd probably lean Jeff Capes would be my fourth.
Yeah. Fucking a bunch of world titles, weight over bar record, open stone record.
He still has certain stone records.
Yeah. Well, and I think maybe he still does, or it just recently got beat, but for like the British Commonwealth Games, he still holds the shot put record for that, which
Yeah,
has
something
been-
crazy like that.
It's been going on. He's had that since like the 70s.
Because I remember I was watching a track and field event fairly recently, and I saw Jeff Cape's name still up there for something. I was like, oh no shit, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah, he's on the Mount Rushmore for sure.
Yeah, those would be my four. Would be Spencer, Ryan, Dan, and Jeff. Those would be my four for the Mount Rushmore of men's pro Highland Games.
Yeah, I just looked it up. The Spencer's highest NASCA score was 8,899.
Yeah, it's an insane number because like that was like I think he broke 3 world records that year. So like you're getting well over 1,000 points in each of those. It'll never be repeated.
Yeah, and like John Van Buren at his best, it's 8,500. Like so.
Yeah,
He was different.
yeah. Well, and that's just like John is gonna be like one of the first like pros in that like with that many world titles that doesn't have a world record.
Right. Which
I think if he really dedicated himself specifically in the weight room, I think he could have gotten the weight over bar record. Mm-hmm. But it would have taken some doing. 19.4 is really high.
yeah. Well, he's closer to it than anyone, just physically.
Yeah.
It's
It's dumb high.
yeah.
It's stupid.
Yeah, I'm not touching that.
I think
That's-
the women's Mount Rushmore is very different. I think you got to keep them separate because the women haven't been doing it as long. But that women's list is really strong too.
Yeah. Who you got on there? Adrian Wilson.
Yeah, Adrian. To me, Adrian is the no doubt. I think you have to put Shannon Hartnett on because Shannon was the original GOAT, but also she was I'm the first.
Right.
Yeah, and she was the poster. She was the Iron Mine poster.
Yep.
The weight over bar, the belly button ring, the full extension, the quads on abs, and ripping it, and until Megan,
Iconic.
who I would put on the Mount Rushmore, it was the longest standing world record until Megan broke it up in Canada a couple years ago. Her light hammer.
Yeah. Nasty hammer.
Yeah, so because now I would put like obviously I'm a little biased.
Well,
for
you're
Megan.
right. Yeah, she's on there
But
for sure.
What up? 5 world titles, 2 world records. Only woman over 100 feet in the heavy hammer. You know what I mean? Only woman over 120 in the light hammer.
Yeah.
And we didn't talk about this because she would get nervous about it. From the weekend that she won her first world title in 2019 until this last year in in Albuquerque. So from World Championships, and I think it was, I want to say Oklahoma. So 2019 Tulsa, Oklahoma, until 2024 Albuquerque. So that's a 5-year run.
Mm-hmm.
She didn't get beaten once.
Jesus. She
did not lose a Highland game in that 5-year stretch. So, and
it
took an amazing effort by Christine to beat her in Albuquerque that day.
Yeah.
That is a level of dominance at any level we probably won't see again at any of the pro levels.
Yeah, that's tough to do.
Yeah, 5 straight world titles, and then almost a 5-year run of unbeaten is pretty wild. I do laugh because the loss that preceded the streak was 2 lightweight athletes.
Okay.
Because of the weird rules at Estes Park with their decathlon scoring, and she no-heighted, so it brought her down to 3rd place. Where in a normal game she still would have won.
Right.
So shout out to Emily Burchett. There we go.
Yeah. Let's dive into what I want to talk about. I was told that you have opinions on the open model and how it's might not be the savior people think it is.
Yeah. So the open format is, it's the idea of anybody can come and be a pro. That's the idea. Mm-hmm. You sign up and you can make money off of the day.
You pay to play.
And then you can win some money and stuff like that. And I think in certain situations, it has merit. I don't think it's trash. I think it's situational. So the one place where the open format does very, very well is the homeland of our sport, Scotland.
Mm-hmm.
So you say, cool, you show up, you have your SGA card, and you can go to any game you want to, and then you're there, and cool, top whatever place this day, and place per event. Hey, this game's top 4, this game's top 7, whatever it is, and you get your little. I do love it over there. You get your little envelope of cash that's already predetermined. Love that. But the reason that works over there is because with the long distance travel to get there, thousands of dollars to get there, and then obviously staying there is not cheap as well. The reason it works, and people come from Czechoslovakia and Germany and from the United States and from Canada and stay there for 4, 5, 6 weeks at a time, is because in that stretch of time, in that 2-month window, there's 70 games that you can go to. So for one travel, I went for a week and got 3 comps in. Mm-hmm. So if I was there, you expand that out over a 4-week period, that's 12 comps that you can go and make, a couple £100 here. I didn't make anything here, but this one's higher paying. I made my best one. I think I made like 500 or 600 pounds. You add that up, cool, you got something going. Right now, you do a destination games that's a solo games, and we'll leave it out there, we'll leave the name out, but one of the most premier pro games in the world, one of the most desired pro games in the world, is doing the pro format, the open format this year. Now, for a good reason. I know why they're doing it.
Yes.
But what this is also kind of a social experiment to show you in a destination games, the open format does not work. One of the most desired games in the world has 5 registrants. In a game that just hosted a world championship last year, and the reason they're saving money is because they plan on hosting a world championship next year. That's to me, that's what there needs to be for the pro class to exist. Most pros, I don't speak for all pros. I'm just going off my almost 20 years experience now. Most pros, they're not trying to make money on this sport. There's a couple that are, and they're stupid because they think they're going to make money. No, bro. All we're trying to do is have our hobby pay for itself. That's it. Most of the pros are that way.
The best way it was described to me.
If more games go to the open format where there's no guarantees put in place, oh, so you're telling me you have to pay into this game, you're going to pay $1,000 to fly there, you got to stay for 2 nights, so there's a couple $100 more, and get a rental car because it's 3 hours away from the airport, and if you don't win 4 of the 9 events, you're actually going to lose $1,500. Yeah, you're not going.
Right.
That's the problem with the open format. I think what will happen ultimately if more bigger pro games do it, it's going to turn the games into a regional pro games instead of a national one.
Yeah. So one
That's
thing
I think the ultimate the downside. Now I think the open can work. So I think what Josh is doing up at No Fame, I think it can. I think it can work. I don't know if it will, but I think it can because Josh is promoting the living piss out of it. And he's covering some things that a lot of people stay at his house, or like he works out other things and he gets some sponsorships here and there, so it can make it work. But I think as a general model, I think it's a dangerous precedent because not everyone, almost no one, is going to put that same level of energy into making it work. Versus, hey, our budget for pros for cash payout is X amount of dollars. Let's say it's 10 grand. I would much rather take that 10 grand and put it into hotels and have, again, let's just say 5 grand left over. We're making up numbers here. 5 grand left over and get whatever pros I can for 5 grand and put on the best show I can with that, because a smaller, close pro group is much better than a pro group of, let's just use as an example, the game that we're talking about. You know, you have the best, arguably the best thrower in the world right now is going to be there. He's financially going to do fine because he's going to win most likely every event.
Yep.
Barring a foul out somewhere, he's going to win every event. And then, to fill out the class, you're going to have 4 people that probably don't belong on the field with him. Is that a good show? To basically just watch one thrower beat the living snot out of everyone else? Maybe, but probably not.
Some will argue it doesn't matter. People want to see throwing. They don't care who's doing it. And I think they're wrong.
They want to see it be competitive. Because if you have, let's say, a game, again, we'll use Pleasanton as an example here. For the most part, Pleasanton is so close. I'm going to change it. I'm going to use Enumclaw. I'll use myself as an example at Enumclaw. Every throw at Enumclaw matters so much because Jay chooses a really close group. Mm-hmm. One miss for me, so one miss at the height of 15 feet. The difference between making it my first throw and my third throw, 4 places in the overall.
Right.
With that level of tightness, every throw matters, and every thrower is bringing that energy every single time. If you have 4 guys that are getting the snot kicked out of them, they are not trying their hardest. I promise you, because they know it doesn't matter.
Right. So let's wind it back a bit because you mentioned
sure,
that.
Of course. I went on a run there.
No, you're good. You're good. We'll touch on a lot of these things. So you mentioned like destination games. Let me go with this. I think the open format could work in 2 ways, right? One, if every games in the entire country says we're having a payout of some kind, Every single one of them, all 260 games, is going to have some kind of a payout. And then that means the pro class is dead, and we are just the best will shake up to the top, kind of how it is now, except we have categories, right? That's one way. The other way is the open format, where I think it really could thrive is in games that they got $1,000 extra, $2,000 extra, and now we have a prize pool that someone locally can be like, well, I'm going to go win $600, and those are the games that I think can do well with an open format. Games like the one we're talking about, the big one. I don't think it benefits them in any way, shape, or form, and benefits the class, benefits the sport, to make that games an open format. Yeah. We know why they're doing it.
Yep. I think it was a calculated risk, and thus far, I don't think it's paying out, but I understand why they're doing it. They're one of the most respected games in the world. I throw no shade their way. But I think it's showing what is the problem with the open format. It exposes a weakness in it.
Right. But I just kind of want to throw this out there just to caution any games that has a pro class, to really, before you decide to make it an open format games, really strongly consider what you're actually doing. Because a lot of times what it comes down to is most of these games, especially ones that are festivals, they're attached to a committee, multiple committees that they're all trying to steal money from each other, right? If it's just a way to save money, that's not going to help the games. That's not going to help the sport grow. That's not going to help your festival grow. No. Sure, the bagpipers or the food trucks get an extra couple $1,000s because you took it from heavy athletics, but I don't think it'll ever benefit you to move for a larger game to move to an open model if they've had a pro model already.
I think I think we're on the same. I think honestly, we're pretty close on some of the same things. Sure. I would say the pro class as it is designed works if all the pros buy into it. Because some games are going to be your big games. And I think some of the problem is games that aren't big games think they are. I think they need a reality check. So there was a good stretch of time there where every game thought, dude, we're going to be the most elite amateur games in the country. No, you're just trying to be cheap. That's because you just don't want to pay for anything, but you want the best the next generation of best throwers to show up by calling it an elite games. It ain't.
But also, no one cares.
Tens of thousands of dollars for a band that's going to play for an hour. But in reality, the crowd is around the caber toss, sheaf, and wait over bar for hours on end. Throw a couple $1,000s at it. Right. And I'll say this too. The games that are the most successful from an athletic standpoint traditionally have their AD is on the board of the festival. Mm-hmm. They are not, also I work for the board, I am part of the board.
Right.
And I think that's where certain pros, certain masters that were former pros, or people want to be really involved, that's where we've missed the boat. Is, listen, if you want the money and you want the acts, you have to go be part of the board.
Right.
That is where those decisions are made. And if you are not there to fight for yourself, it is not going to happen for you.
Yeah. Here's another thing they could do is just, instead of being on the board, do your own thing. We don't have to be at festivals.
That's where I tend to disagree. I think the festivals at its heart will always be the core of what we do.
So, okay, well, the festivals aren't like, you can make your own festival, just like Enum Club made a thing.
I did my own. I was an AD. I've been an AD for many years. Right, so like I said, I worked at both sides of it.
Like, I'm not saying that, like, like the bigger games that like you want to be heavily involved in, like Pleasanton, Enumclaw, Alaska. Like if you want heavy athletics to like be around forever and be at these games at the prestige that they are, those are ones. Yeah, get involved in those for sure. Like especially if you're local enough.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of people in the sport want a lot of things just kind of done for them. They want to show up. And that, I mean, gosh, that's really any sport. There are very few people that actually want to volunteer their time and do something for that's not going to pay them.
Bro, you're not telling me anything. Like, I just keep talking. Preach, Jacob.
Right.
Preach why I have another scotch because we're talking Highland Games. We're gonna have a scotch while we're doing it.
What are you sipping on, sir?
We are having Aberfeldy tonight. I had two more. Drinks in it. I had the first one. We're gonna have the second.
Oh yeah. So
and my ice is in a SpongeBob shaker cup.
That works. Hell yeah! What's he lifting? Gummy bears or teddy bears?
Yeah. The episode where he lifts the stuffed animals overhead in a clean and jerk.
He like deadlifts his arms off of him. Hell yeah. What I was going to say was too, like, this is, I've been thinking about this a whole lot because I got a lot of time on my hands to think about things.
I drive a lot, so I think about these things too. That's why my opinions run deep sometimes.
Yeah, dude. Right there. So people look to the open format as a way to spice things up and kind of change what their games are. And I think that is, it is one way to change up your games, and maybe you think it's for the better. I think there's a better option, and I'm going to keep talking on this until everyone agrees with me.
Listen. Those are the firmest beliefs. I like it. Let's hear it.
9 events is boring as shit to the average person who doesn't know what Highland Games is. I watch you throw a weight, and I watch you throw another.
That's why
weight.
we do Braemar in the morning.
Right. Well, so this is precisely it, right? Like they look at Scotland as the model for the Open. This is how they do it there. We're gonna do it here. This was what the motherland or fatherland. I'm not sure which one it is. Mm-hmm. This is what they do. But what they also do is throw 4 or 5 events at most games.
Yeah, the ones I did had 6 or 7, but some of them.
Not 9.
Because they don't. Most of them don't believe in sheaf.
It's not okay. Right,
but yeah, I follow you. Yeah,
like the guys I've talked to at their games in Scotland, they are doing a stone, a weight, a hammer, a caber, and whatever bar, and that's it. Like the crowd is not going to sit there and watch you throw an hour of stones or an hour of hammers. Right. It's boring as shit. At least in Scotland, people going there, the tourists, kind of know what they're getting into. They know what they're looking for at the games. They are aware of this, and even the locals obviously know. But here in the States, most of the people that come to our games that aren't at a Celtic or Scottish festival, they don't know what the hell they're looking at. Like the ones at Ren fairs, like they have no idea like what they're looking at. And
I want to watch you. I want to listen to you finish your thought.
Yeah.
Because I have very strong opinions on how games need to be AD'd from my times as an AD, and I think you're barking up the tree that I love to live in. So let's roll with it. But let's finish your thought.
Yeah. So it's just that when we think of like the pro class and how to get the most bang for your buck, right? Because and this is kind of a knock on a lot of ADs. They're not thinking of this as a business because they're not making car payments off of their job ADing, right? So like they're not really business focused, right?
Sure. Or they weren't business people to begin with.
Right.
I think you're gonna love my answer.
Every pro has $1 a point attached to them. You're paying them for a task, right? And the best games are the ones where the pros have a job to do, and they have the tools to execute this job, right?
Agreed.
Alaska is a perfect example because when they have pros, They give you the tools to put on a fucking show.
You are treated like royalty.
Yes, it's the best games in the country, as far as I'm concerned. I haven't been to Pleasanton, haven't been to Enumclaw.
It's
They are
having done been to it's close.
They treated us
it
so
has
fucking
a
well.
unique charm that brings it up to the top. And I will say this: the person that gets credit for that, Jenny McDaniel, is one of the best athletic directors in the country.
That's a fact.
Do my Kanye. Hold on. I'm gonna let you finish. But Jenny McDaniels deserves that VA.
She's the best.
Great.
I will shout it
Top
from
three,
rooftops.
top three AD in the country, hands down.
Yes. But they give you the tools to like make it worth their money, right? We throw 9 events there, but I think for a lot of other games, when you're put in front of a crowd, you're there on a Saturday, you start at fucking noon and you end at 4, and you throw 5 events and that's it. And you have the best pros in the country that are doing a specific job. That's how you
in the morning
boost.
they have the local class, and then the afternoon. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You get all eyes on your people that you're actually paying, the ones that are putting asses in seats. And ideally, I know you're good at this. Pros know how to work a crowd better than the AMs do, generally speaking.
Some.
Yes.
I'm not good at this. I'm the best at this.
You're the people's champ.
I might not be able to throw a stone, to Kyle Lilly or something like that, but I will work a crowd better than anybody in the Pro Highland Games, hands down.
And that's 20 years of experience showing. A lot of the guys, especially the pros, especially the pros in the circuit these days, they don't have 20 years. They don't have 10 years in the games. They have 5. So it takes time to like build that. And I think we're all kind of working on it, but the bottom line is the formatting isn't beneficial for us. So I think a better option than doing an open format would be giving the professionals the tools they need to succeed.
You're gonna love my answer as an AD. You're gonna love it. Like we're barking up the same tree.
Let's hear it. What do you got?
So when I'm an AD, Jenny McDaniel is one of the best ADs in the country. Steve Conway might literally be the GOAT because he literally wrote the book on being an AD.
He did.
Yeah, he did. And then I'd have to think about who else would be up there. But like Steve, Jenny, they do. Jay.
I was gonna say Jay is obviously up there too.
Jay and I, we when we met a few years ago, we'd been internet friends for years, but never actually like met each other. Instant bromance. I love that little walrus and his big mustache. He's awesome. I love him.
You know what's amazing about Jay, and I don't know if any other ADs that do this. He's scouting pros. He's out there watching YouTube, watching Instagram, and keeping his eye on people.
Mm-hmm. Jenny does as well, and Steve he scouts, but then if he's not scouting, he's asking the right people.
Right.
And one of the other people that I would put in the asterisk, he hasn't been an AD as long as those, is Danny Webster.
Okay.
Yeah, love Danny. Danny is putting the effort in. Now, I am the reason that Danny is hosting pros. This guy. I bullied him for months to host his first pro games. He did it, and he's been doing pro games ever since. So my bullying added 4 pro games to the circuit. So just throwing that out there. All right. So an AD's responsibility, in my opinion, is you have to understand what you're doing. Yes, you are rule 1. You have to provide a safe field. Okay, that's number 1. Not every AD does. There is some shady shit out there.
Sometimes
shady
you got
equipment.
I've had to. Yeah, I've had to be safety police myself, which fucking sucks when you're trying to throw a world record hammer and you got to clear a line of people out because they're too fucking close because the fence is not built right.
There was a game because I'll talk shit about this game because this AD isn't the AD anymore. Vegas Highland Games many years ago. First time I met Scott too was I was there watching the day before, and I was watching the elite women throw. And a bunch of spectators were just standing by the hammer net. It was a soccer net. And I'm like, I literally stopped because this was like when Heather McDonald was her high, when she was somebody pushing 100 feet in the hammer. I'm like, if she lets that go, you're dead.
Yep.
Dead. And I pulled the net out as far as it goes, and it went through their skull. I'm like, you're dead. Move back. Like, just little things like that. That's an AD's responsibility one. Safe field. 2A and 2B is to, A, make sure the fans are having the best experience. Because the best experience for the fans means dollars for the festival. Dollars for the festival means we come back next year. Mm-hmm. Or we're able to grow next year. 2B, the athletes have the best experience possible. And that comes in my opinion, you need to provide the best equipment, which is something that Ryan did really well. People have opinions about Ryan, but he provided good equipment. You can give him that always. So I would talk to Mike Landrich, was my equipment guy. I would always have him make the best stuff for my games. And then I'd make it available for sale at the end of the games. Easy, because that's how he provided the equipment for free. As long as, and I sold it for him, sent him the cash. Easy. Yep. And I'm providing the best field and then the best experience possible. So that means putting the hammer cage where it is visible but safe. Hammer is a great event. People, they don't understand it, but they love watching it.
Yeah.
But you have to put it close to the crowd in a safe way. Your height standards need to be near the beer tent.
Yep.
Every festival that is not putting the height standards within close proximity to the beer tent is losing money on their beer tent. I literally can prove you will see a 30% increase in beer sales just by putting the height standards near the beer tent. People will sit there all day and watch the height events because it's the only one they can easily understand, and it has instantaneous drama to it.
Yep.
And one of the games that does this the best in the country is Central Florida. The game that does North-South.
North-South.
I forget the actual name of the festival. We always just call it North-South.
Yep,
but the one
North-South.
in Wintergreen Park, it is literally it is within 30 feet of the biggest beer tent in the festival. People are sitting there betting money on the throwers. They're shelling out beer tickets because it's something really fun. It's easy to see.
Yep.
And the first thing I do as an AD when I set up, before I ask for my classes, who are my pros, who are my athletes coming in, what equipment, what my field is, I get my MC in place. The MC will make Braemar and Openstone interesting if you have a good MC. The MC's job, and the reason I think I take pride in how I work the crowd as if I am the MC, is to contextualize what we're doing.
We're throwing a toddler over this bar.
Hey, this throw is the best throw in the world right now. Hey, this thrower just hit this. That's a PR, or that's a top 3 in the world. Before any crowd, before any event, because they don't know, hey, any throw over this distance is world class. That's what we're looking for today. So to give them something to hang on to. The job of the pros as working the crowd and the MC, contextualize. You are your own play-by-play and your own color commentator.
One thing
if you aren't contextualizing it, they won't give you the response that you want.
Right. And one thing that I don't think I've ever actually seen it, but I think it'll be totally worth it. So like you pay one MC, pay 2. That way you have banter back and forth, and you have nonstop talking. One guy's getting gassed out, other guy picks up the slack, and you have constant jibber jabber going.
So my best friend in the world is a woman named Courtney McGuire. Mm-hmm. She's a Masters athlete. She is 4'11", and she's been 4'11" lesbian, and she does stand up. And she's hilarious. And the two of us on the mic together is gold at a Highland Games. And we do that. We'll talk shit to the Masters, but build the crowd up for them. And the crowd's having a good time. The athletes are having a good time. You take the air out of the balloon a little bit, and you contextualize what's happening. So for me, like the only reason I'm not emceeing more games is I still got 2 years left of being a pro. I got 2 more years.
See, I was just about to ask you, what do you do on October 18th? I got a job for you.
What's October 18th?
All right, well, I'm going to cut this out because I'm not ready to announce it yet.
Back when Francis was doing his All-America series the first time around, so you had to qualify. You had to go to either Vegas, Costa Mesa, Dublin. There was a handful of games you had to go to. You had to place, and then if you placed within the top 2 of those, you got invited to McPherson at the end for the All-America series. What's that?
McPherson.
Okay.
You non-locals want to call it McPherson. It's McPherson.
All right, fair enough.
I grew up like a mile from there for most of my life growing up.
Gotcha. So went there, and it was a pretty stacked group. It was myself, Eddie Brown, Scott Hutchinson.
I have that picture. I found it the other day, and I sent it to Skylar Arneson, and I was like, look at all these yik yaks. And he's like, that's the most stacked the IHGF championship has ever been, because half the field are pros now.
Yeah, because we all really took it serious at that time, and I think the IHGF has kind of lost its way a little bit.
100%.
And that's a conversation for another day. Like Francis is still such a character in the games, and he's important to the games, but I think the IHGF is starting to lose ground in certain ways. But that's a whole nother conversation.
Yep.
So that games, it was really, so you had Hutchinson and then Kevin Becker. Kevin ended up being the winner. He was just killing it that year. Kevin was so hard to catch. But went on and, had a real fun at that games. I almost killed Ryan Vieira at that games. If you've been at that field, so it got really hot that day, but there's one tree out in the middle of the field that everybody hides under for a shade because it was so hot. But it was sitting at about 120 feet in the hammer sector. So I dropped it in the middle of that tree where everybody was hiding, and Ryan still had a good 10-yard shuttle. He dumped out of there. But I was like, oh God, I almost just killed Ryan Vieira. That was hands down, that would have been my 130 because I hit a tree branch in that tree, like a big one, like a thud, and it still went 121.
Yeah.
If that had gone cleanly, that would have been my first 130, but whatever. That's the one.
You're in there.
That's me in my Captain America undershirt and my all taped up.
Yeah.
The better story of that game is a C athlete, came and talked to me that day. And it was to me, Hutchinson, and Eddie Brown. We're talking to him. And, oh, man, how'd you do? He's like, he came up, talked to us, dapped us up. He's like, oh, man, how'd you do today? He's like, oh, well, I won open stone. I went 55 feet. And we're just like, oh, that's cool, man. Dan Tennyson. This is
It was Dan Tennyson. Yeah.
Nicest guy, and we're just like, well, fuck me, I guess.
We've talked about that a bunch, about how he's trying to convince Dave Glasgow that he's like, I threw in college, I don't know if I should be in this class. He's like, it's your first time? He's like, yeah. He's like, you throw C class first time every time, and he's like, okay, and just fucking crushes it.
Yeah, I know. It just came literally 55 feet the first time. We were like, oh. It's trying to. We didn't depress. Yeah, good for you, man. Yeah, hey, you keep the work in, bud. You'll get there one day. It just went on to murder us for 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, he did.
But that was a weird game. That's the hardest game I ever had to work to get the crowd behind me. Literally, and because there was no one in kilts in the crowd. Everyone was in their nicest overall denims. They were clean. They were like the church denims.
Yeah,
but
that's McPherson.
and it was a dry festival, which I thought was odd. I'm like, how's this festival make money? But
it's not around anymore.
Yeah, well,
if that tells you anything.
It was the weirdest thing. It took me all day but I finally got them to get behind me. And I worked every trick in the book I knew. I worked on these people to get them, like, when I get up there, hey, let's make some noise, let's have some fun. But then it was the weirdest thing. So, like, Kevin Becker followed me in the order all day. So they'd cheer for me, whatever. And, like, Kevin was whipping the shit out of all of us that year. We were not beating Kevin that day. Scott Hutchinson and I were having a nice battle, and Kevin was just beating the shit out of us. I'd throw, get the crowd all worked up, and then I would walk out of the sector or walk out of the uprights. Kevin would walk up, dead silent again. And it was the weirdest thing. Like, even for me, I'm like, all right, whatever, man. I was just like, it was like, every trick I knew in the book, I worked these people just to get something out of them. I'm like, man, the festival, like, the profit is the beer tent. What are we doing here? The beer tent is your profit.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? I just thought of one too, just because we're talking about the heartland, that area of the country.
Mm-hmm.
Arguably the best ADs in the game. They just don't happen to run a pro class, even though I beg them to. The Irvin brothers. The Iron Thistle is one of the best run games in the country, hands down.
We call it Sterling now.
Oh, they changed the name?
Yeah, it's the Sterling Classic. Well, there was a they were, I think they were aligned with like United Scots of Oklahoma, and then they branched away and did their own thing. Still running it. It's still them running it, and they're crushing it.
Jeremy and John Irvin are two of my favorite people I've ever met in the Highland Games. And what I love about this sport, and that's why you see a lot of people with long careers, and obviously you'd be hard pressed right now to find someone that's done more games than I have. Like, you're talking maybe Isaac and Nathan Burchett. The list gets real short after that about people that have done more. Like, I was thinking about it on the way down here to talk to you. Like, God, I got to be pushing 200 comps at this point. Completely different growing up. Like, I'm an East Coast kid. These are the states I've lived in: New York, Vermont, and California. All the states that Kansas hates. I've lived in every one of them. You know what I mean? Like, and they embraced me as one of their own the first time I met them as much as possible. They did their big prayer circle at the beginning. And like, we joked around and busted balls immediately. They're like, we pray for the safety and we pray for our heathen friends from New York, like Matt Hand. And I'm like, instantly best friends I've ever had. Hilarious. In front of everybody, because nobody in Oklahoma knew me. That was the first time they were all meeting. The first time.
Right.
It was hilarious. I love those guys to death. And proponent, I think Boomstick has more world records than any other fork in the business. So there's a shout out for John and Jeremy.
That's why I have one, because I wanted to set a world record, and I did. So, boom. My fork actually came from Dan Tennyson. It was his fork, and then he gave it to Skylar Arneson, who then gave it to me.
There you go.
A lot of PRs with that
Well,
stick.
that's good that somebody finally learned to throw sheaf with it.
I know, that's what I'm saying. Like, I throw with both feet on the ground, unlike Dan.
And they're like, obviously this is just becoming a promo for Boomstick now. Like, a couple years ago at the Mississippi Highland Games, which is a favorite of mine. I was bummed they went to the open format. I was gonna do it anyway, but work-wise, I couldn't do it this year. Just work is dumb, gets in the way of my Highland Games.
That's why I don't work.
But one year there, I let Aaron George from Throw Bros borrow my fork for whatever reason. He didn't bring his fork, and the metal sheared off during the pull. So the middle tine sheared off, and it flew like this and almost hit Isaac Burchett right in the eye.
Jeez.
Yeah. So we all had a heart attack. But, like, what was nice about that is, obviously, like, listen, metal is metal. Like, you get pourings, weird things happen. No cost, they sent me a new one. They sent me a new head. They took care of me. Like, and I've been a big, like, champion for them for a long time. Love those guys. So this is Edna 3.0, because obviously he always names his fork. So I'm an Edna. But shout out to John and Jeremy. Love those guys.
They're
obviously, you probably throw with Jeremy quite a bit, I assume.
Yeah, I just saw Jeremy last weekend, where I went down to Wichita for the Wichita games, and
Yeah.
He was throwing, hung out with him all day.
Yeah.
It was
I
fun.
love those guys.
They're the best. Jeremy, I think, has competed in more championships than anyone, because like through lightweight national champions and world championships and masters championships,
Yeah.
I think he's competed more than anyone in the games.
My guess would be it'd be hard pressed because he's just so he's so consistent. And he's, and obviously he's one of the forefathers of the lightweight class.
He was in at 190.
Jeremy's awesome. So I forget, where were we? I think it was Mississippi one year. The year that Mississippi hosted lightweight world championships.
Nationals championship, 2022.
Nationals, sorry.
Yeah.
Lightweights and women's, what's the difference between nationals and world championships?
Well, the world championships, we invite less good people, and we invite some foreigners.
You know what I mean?
They don't. I'm sorry.
Outside of two or three people, what's the difference? You know what I mean? The women's world championships and the lightweight we're so stacked on the U.S. side for those two classes. You know what I mean? Difference between women's world championships and women's worlds is two people. And I assume it's probably pretty similar for lightweights.
Yeah. So how lightweight worlds works is, or nationals, it's the top 10 or 12, depending on the year, of the best in America. And then for worlds, you get the top two from nationals worlds gets an automatic, top two from nationals gets an automatic invite to worlds. Top two from Canada, automatic invite. And then top two from Europe get an automatic invite. And then we fill the rest based on numbers, which it just ends up being Americans at that point. But that's the difference.
Well,
the
Europeans lightweights are fairly competitive, right?
We've got they're too. I think Jan or Yan, I don't know how to pronounce it. It's Flock. His last name's Flocken. He's pretty good over there.
He's pretty flocking good.
Yeah. Except for him, I don't know if any of the other Europeans are good as lightweights.
Well, there's a guy, and this is where the 20 years is starting to I've met thousands of people in this sport, and now I'm starting to forget names. There was a guy who was a big lightweight, and he was from Germany, but he always had bleach blonde hair, always super peroxide blonde hair. And I can't remember his name. I met him a couple times. He was a nice dude. Cannot remember his name, but I know he was a lightweight and did that stuff. But he would be in the masters level now.
There's one. I'm fucking. He's from Romania. He lives in Germany. I can't remember his name. I want to say Dimitri. I feel like an asshole for not remembering it. I know it. It's just not coming. I know his name. It's just not coming. But
some fucking gypsy. Hello, gypsy. Yes.
Yeah. It's late for me, so I'm having a tough brain time right now. I'm trying to pull his fucking name up because I can't remember the Stefan Demetria. Damn it. Yes, Stefan. Romania.
Gotcha.
Great lightweight thrower. He's been to many worlds. But yeah. That took a while.
I think the guy I was thinking, I think his name might have been Peter, but I can't but that might have been one generation before you start, because how long have you been throwing?
This would be year 7 or 8. 7.
Yeah,
maybe?
so he might have been just a touch before you, since the last time I would have seen him.
Yeah, and I didn't know anything about any lightweight stuff until 2022 when I decided to be a lightweight.
Well, hell, you and I were supposed to be partners at Phoenix. We had a couple cool internet videos, we were in it, and then they pulled
cutting promos.
On us. Yeah.
Yeah. There is a slight difference between nationals and worlds for lightweights, but not much.
Minimal. Yeah. No, it's kind of similar on the women's end too, where obviously the Masters World Championships, I would say some of the classes are getting pretty competitive, at least internationally speaking, especially on the women's side. On the men's side, it's USA all the way, baby. It's right. Zechariah Whittington and Mike Zolkowitz and Sean Beltran and Mike Beltran and Sean from SAAA, just kicking the shit out of people, and it's great.
Yeah, Sean Smith, yeah. That I get confused with like the Masters like age breakouts stuff like that. I'm like, oh, so you're throwing against so and so, and they're like, no, a different age.
Yeah. Oh,
And I'm
dude,
like, oh, but you're fucking.
Masters
But
40
like,
to 44 right now is murderer's row.
no, even you know, 45 to 49 or what, like it. There's a
Yeah,
big gap. I
45
think
to
they
40,
can
well,
lump.
because all over the last couple of years, those guys have all moved up to 45 to 49. So it's still murderer's row. Dude, Zechariah, man, like that's one of those guys I look at like, man, that's a thrower I wish I could be sometimes. He is so fucking strong and just like so technically sound on most events, man. He's so good. Love watching him throw.
I would prefer it, and like, the Masters will never ever go for this. I would like to see it like 40 to 50 or 40 to 60.
Yeah.
I want to see 20 years of age throwing together because there
So,
are
and
guys
that's
who
where,
are
like, so when I was an AD and I would run games, I would do 40 to 50, 50 to 60, 60 and up. You know, but at the world level, I do understand why they do that.
sure.
Because like there is like at that point, because I do I do train a lot of masters athletes. And man, heavy on the quotes. I give them the tools to succeed. I help write programming for them. I watch a lot of like, hey, you send me a video, I will break it down for you. We'll work on what, and I do that for a lot of people. Listen, I'm not charging for this. It's my hobby. It's not worth charging for, to be honest with you. But if you want to, but here's the thing. The reason like personal trainers and coaches get paid is for accountability. I'm not fucking doing that. I'm not checking up on you to see how you're doing. That's your job. But if you send me a video and like we're looking for some easy advice, but one of the first things I tell masters when you're training is the key to success at the masters level is it's a war of attrition.
Right.
It's typically the healthiest athlete at Worlds that wins because you don't recover as fast. In many cases, not all, you've already passed your peak strength time. Mm-hmm. Now you have those people that didn't start lifting until they were 38, or 39. So like they have this weird new strength growth that they never saw before.
Right.
But for the most part, Masters is a war of attrition. So like it's about making sure you are at your peak, but yes, being mostly healthy at Worlds so that you can compete through all 9 events and not like, oh yeah, this doesn't work anymore.
Right. I was just looking over here at last year's like Masters numbers, and
it's dumb.
Dumb
far.
Thor Gilfison is number 1, and he's pretty fresh in the 40s.
Is he 40?
Yeah, that's what I said.
I always thought Thor and I were the same age, or he was a little younger than me. But Thor's been around a long time. Long time. So
he was in Mississippi last year and throwing in the Masters Open. I was like, "Your Masters?" He's like, "Oh yeah, I think he said 43 or something like that." Surprised. I was like, "Jesus, wearing it well."
Jesus.
That Icelandic blood.
Listen, those guys that go bald early, you never have a real idea how old they are.
Yeah.
I don't talk shit about a lot of things, but I got a full head of hair, baby. I'm 30. I'm 37. If it hasn't let me yet, it ain't gonna.
But so, like, looking at it, Mark Wechter is falling in at number 9, and he's well past 50. And
yeah, and Mark's a savage.
Right. The only really if you go to like the top 20, because Zachariah is at number 20, that whole list it's 45-year-olds or 51-year-olds. Like that's like that's
and
the
I
spread
assume
there.
Zachariah is only 50. I assume Zachariah is only 20 because he's probably missing an event.
I think he's got all of them. No, I don't have the full page open. Maybe. No. I have a split screen. But either way, it's just
one guy that should have gone pro that never did was Zachariah.
Right. Yeah, it's just Masters at that time. Like I think it'd be if you pull 6 of those guys out and had them it doesn't matter what age, just had them compete against each other.
Well, and that's just like the beauty of
it'd be nasty.
So one of the things I When I turned pro, obviously, like, there's a lot of people that don't like pros, and for whatever reason. Oh, he beat me once one day, or they were actual dickheads. Like, sometimes it's petty reasons, sometimes it's legit. Who knows?
Yeah.
But there was one guy from the Buffalo area that pulled me aside when I said I was going to turn pro, and he's like, "Listen, because I turned pro 12 or 13 years into my career.
Mm-hmm.
So I had been an amateur for a long time." And there was no C's when I started, but I would have been the equivalent of a C,
Right.
and worked my way up. He's like, don't lose what made you good as an amateur, of how hard you worked, and appreciate people, because this guy hated pros. And it was mostly because pros were dickheads to him during his time, for whatever reason.
Yeah.
I think some of it was warranted, but that's a whole other conversation. But I took that to heart, and I've always thought about that. Be the pro that I've always wanted to be. So that's why every game I go to, they get my best of that I can give them. Both effort throwing, but more importantly, best effort working the crowd. If I'm having a shit day, the crowd won't know it.
Right.
I do all my little tricks of, hey, when we're throwing the 56, especially for height, take the other 56, walk it around the crowd, let all the little kids pick it up.
Yeah.
It's the easiest thing. Parents love it. They take pictures. You instantly get invited back. Giving them context, doing little things where you're like, my goal is I'm trying to get the people in the crowd to buy me beers.
Yeah.
That's my ultimate goal. If I can get them, because I'm like, now I know I got them.
Yeah, you won them over.
Yep. I'm like, there's one, and I there's one rule in this sport. One rule. And everybody's paying attention because they think I'm being serious. One rule. I'm your favorite. And they die, and I when I come up for sheaf, I go, one rule. People start, yeah, all right, cool. Get them going. They have fun, but they remember it too. I'm making sure that the $20 to $50 they paid to get in, depending on what festival it is, it was worth it. And they're going to come back next year. Because to me, it is my job to work on my invite for the next year while I'm there.
Mm-hmm.
And that I am showing value in what the pro class is. That's how I view it. Because some days you're going to throw really far. Some days you're not. But either way, those people paid to be there, and they deserve your best. You're being paid as a professional. Be a professional.
There's when I started, what I was told, like, the purpose of the pro class is, and I don't think it's the only purpose, but one purpose of the pro class is it's for the lower classes. It's for the A's, B's, and C's. Like, you're there to show them how good of a thrower they can be. You're there to be just an example and an ambassador to the sport. You're there.
I agree. I think they're, and I think that's why we need to protect the pro class a little bit. There needs to be something to achieve. There needs to be a standard in which to. Because I think if every game went to the open class per se, there wouldn't have been a Dan McKim, there wouldn't have been a Ryan Vieira, so on and so forth. They would have there's this regional guy who's really good, but they don't travel because those games far away don't pay, those type of things. But whole other conversation.
Right, and so, like, what I was told is, like, just try to be the coolest fucking guy to the amateurs. That, like, be the guy that, like, you want to hang out with. That, like, you want to meet these people, right? My first games, like, we had, it was Spencer, the Burchett brothers, and Andy Vincent, and Chuck Casson.
Dude, I miss Andy Vincent so bad. The pro class misses Andy Vincent so bad, man. He is just, like, Matt was a legend. Mm-hmm. And I don't think any single thrower has gotten more athletes into the game than Matt Vincent.
That's a fact.
That being said, every every like outside view, everybody's favorite athlete was Matt Vincent for a long time because he was so popular.
Yeah.
Every thrower's favorite athlete was Andy Vincent.
Right.
Like, just loved him. Salt of the earth, great guy. Loved him so much.
Yeah. So
I can't be Andy.
Dude,
Oh,
so, okay.
yeah. So we would. So at game, there's certain games we'd be trying to raise money for charity for certain things. So we would do this at Costa Mesa, and they would do the fireman's boot. So we would do the fireman's boot, and the crowd would donate cash for, I forget what charity it was. They gave me the mic, and I worked the crowd. Andy took his shirt off, and he just walked around the crowd and collected money. Dude, I think we generated a couple $1,000 just in petty cash going around the crowd. Awesome. Love that guy.
I remember seeing Andy at this game, just sitting there in a lawn chair. They're throwing wob, and he's just waiting for his turn, and his hamstrings were like just dripping off of the fucking lawn chair, and I was like, that guy is huge.
Dude, he is
what
just
yeah. But so like hanging out like with those guys on that day, like I was able to like talk with like Chuck, and I was able to talk to like Nate and Isaac, and like they were all just the coolest fucking people. And like I'm going pro now. It took years, but like this is what I want to do because I saw what these guys are, and they were the coolest fucking guys on the field. Like the guys like I was throwing with in the C class, like they were not cool, they were not interesting at all, not one bit. No. Especially compared to like Nate and Isaac just jibber jabbering. Isaac comes in there barefoot and spins like 35 feet on sheaf because like they're throwing like the 60 or something like that. And he's like, "What do you guys do? Why is this bar so low?" Fucking does a full spin, just whips it up there, and everyone's gasping. And I was like, "That's so fucking cool, dude. That's cool."
Isaac him and I have been throwing close to the same. He's been throwing a couple years longer than me, but he might be the best friend I've ever made in the Highland game specifically, especially in the pro class. I love Isaac Burchett more than I love him. I love his family. They're great people. He's such a fucking goofball. And our group chats our texts between each other on a weekly basis are ridiculous. And we couldn't be more different from how we grew up. But like we've become best friends because of the sport. And I love the guy. I've had to take a lot of shit the last couple of years because he is a diehard Kansas City Chiefs fan, and I am from Buffalo. I am a ride or die member of Bill's Mafia, so I've had to take a lot of shit the last couple of years. But he has a crop top video of me after this last AFC Championship game because I had to pay up a bet. So
nice. Yeah. So like that's like my thing to tell people, like if they're interested in becoming in the pro class, or they made the jump, to be secure enough in front of the crowd to like do what you do and just fucking Matt hand it up, and like that's kind of hard to do. That takes some time, but what you can do is be the coolest fucking guy for all the other people on the field. It's not that hard to be extremely nice. There's some pros that lean into this and some pros that don't. The pros that don't lean into it don't get invited to games most often. I'll use the guy has become a really good friend of mine, Nick Aston. Nick hated working the crowd. Nick is a pretty quiet guy. He's a quiet guy.
And he's very internal, but he's learned to work the crowd a little bit because it matters to ADs and it matters to the crowd. So he has his little things that he does, but they're minimalist, but they're enough. And that's fine. Be yourself, but you're being paid there because without the crowd and the festivals, all we are is idiots in a field with sticks and rocks.
Right.
You know what I mean? That is the advantage that we have over powerlifting, over most levels of strongman.
Right.
Not all, but most. Olympic lifting, most levels of CrossFit, masters track and field. That's the advantage that we have, is we are part of a festival that brings in people.
Mm-hmm.
Now, obviously, the elite level of strongman, yeah, they make more money than any other strength athletes. But anything below elite, the only people showing up are wives and girlfriends. There ain't nobody there just showing up out of their own time. Hey, I think I'm going to go check out the strongman event. No, you ain't. Liar. You're a liar. Oh, I'm going to go to the Celtic Festival. I'm going to watch a pipe band, but then I'm also going to drink my face off and watch these giant dudes throw logs. Fucking cool. You know what I mean? Like, that's the advantage we have over those other sports. And I think that's why we need to embrace the festivals more. And not enough pros do. That's me as a pro who's 8 years into being a pro. Yeah, that sounds about right. I think that's the one thing not every pro leans into, not just the crowd, but embracing the festival itself. Mm-hmm. And just understanding, like, listen, this is the engine that makes the car run, is the festival.
Yeah.
We are part of that. Embrace it. Go talk to the board members. You know what I mean? Shake a couple hands, kiss a couple babies. That is why you are a professional. You have to do professional shit sometimes. And that's where I think is lost. It's not just about throwing far. There's a lot of amateurs that have thrown far in certain events, but they don't take the time to, talk to the ADs. Come back the next day if you can and help out.
Yep.
You know what I mean? I'll work the crowd. You know what I mean? I'll go talk to the board members and just put a good face on what we're doing. We have to take some ownership of our own success. And I think that's where I think some pros leave off, is they just want to throw and they want to leave.
Yeah.
That's not
the
how
job.
this works.
Yeah, it's not the job.
If you want to do that, and I will say this to all, for the people that watch this and all the prospective pros, and I would clip this. If you want to be pro, it also comes with being someone who works the crowd, talks to the board members, and talks to the athletes that are younger than you.
Yep.
That is your responsibility. If all you want to do is throw far, go do Masters track and field and enjoy having a crowd of 3 people and throwing in front of somebody's wife that doesn't want to be there. Go enjoy that. If you want the crowds and the little bit of money that we get, and you get the fun, you get the free beer tickets, you get to travel, you have to do the professional part. And there are pros that don't do that. Now, some are more inclined to, some aren't. In my opinion, there's only been one pro that's ever been good enough that he doesn't have to do those things. That's Spencer. Spencer Peak, he's the only pro that didn't have to do that shit. He still did, but he didn't have to.
Right.
Everybody else needs to, at least you put the effort in. Okay? That's it. You're not above it. And I will say this to every pro, every elite amateur, every elite master, every elite woman, whatever. You are not above the festival that pays for us to be there. Eat your humble pie, throw far, train hard, but be nice enough to shake a couple hands and say hi to people. It is what it is. That's why you're a professional. If you don't like it, go fucking powerlift. Go powerlift where nobody's fucking there to watch. You're in somebody's garage, and then most likely, powerlifting has more sexual abuse charges than any other sport. Have fun doing that. That's what this sport is. I'm sorry. I get frustrated with the people that don't embrace. You are a sport, but you're in also a cultural event. Embrace it. And that frustrates me sometimes. It doesn't mean you have to be you don't have to be Captain Braveheart, throw the blue paint on. That doesn't mean that. But it does mean hey, do you see a bunch of kids in the crowd? Go talk to them. Take a weight over to them. Let them pick it up. Go give them a high five.
Have something to hand out. like stickers,
Yes.
to get a bundle of stickers
and
costs like
that's what I
$25.
really
Get
so,
custom stickers,
we're-
hand them out.
There is and I think why you see the women's class, pro class, elite, women's elite, not women's pro, because the women pro don't want that burden. If they were under the same rules as us, they'd have 3 games a year. Women's elite, because it's Pleasanton, Alaska, and like 2 other games that will pay women right now. Like in reality, the elite, they have right now the elite pros of the women have the best of both worlds. They can go to the pro games that pay, but they can also go to the small games and get their numbers.
Mm-hmm.
They have the best of both worlds right now. But what the women's class of the last, I'm going to say 6-ish years, 5-6 years, they have embraced working the crowd and making it an event.
They
Because
bring a
the elite women
boombox.
before
Yeah.
didn't do that. And I'll give credit to someone like Emily Adams.
That's what I was going to bring up too.
As far as working the crowd, she's one of the few people I will tip my hat to that I think is equal or better than me at working the crowd.
Just the sweetest lady.
But she's doing it for a reason too.
Yep.
She's earning her spot at those games.
Yeah, I haven't been to a games with Emily where she's not handing something out to the crowd.
Exactly.
We were in Mississippi last year. She had chicken stickers, just a bunch of random stickers of chickens.
Oh yeah. So 2 years ago, Mississippi did partners games. 2 years ago in Mississippi. So it was me and Amarissa Handy. They'd hand in hand. I'm like, cool, that's fine. We'll make that work. But her and I, we talked about like, what are we gonna do? Because Adrian Wilson, arguably the GOAT of all time for women's Highland games,
Yeah.
and Emily were in the group. What are we gonna do? She's like, hey, it's October. There's Halloween candy. We went to Walmart, bought a shit ton of Halloween candy. We were just handing it out to kids everywhere. That was because nobody else did that. That was our advantage. Well, we got this.
Perfect. Yeah,
oh, you got stickers? I got Skittles, bitch.
Yeah. That's just like little things that anyone can just do. Get stickers, bring
like
candy,
someone like Emily
snap bracelets, whatever.
But she has, because she is at an elite enough level where all the other pro women, elite women respect her, but she also does all the little things to work the crowd, which makes the other pros do it as well. Mm-hmm. Now, obviously, Adrian has her GOAT status, so Adrian's big thing is throw and then the princess wave. That's Adrian.
Yep.
She's class personified.
Yep.
But like some pros don't want to do that, and that's okay. But have your own thing. Embrace talking to the people, because it's not the NCAA, and that's a struggle for a lot of athletes, because most of your pros were NCAA track athletes, most of them. I think if you did the math, it's probably an 85% plus correlation to NCAA pros, NCAA athletes that were pros. It's not track and field. It's not a throw, take your 3 throws, and dip. You're earning it. You have to work that. The crowd is part of it. And some athletes eventually embrace it. Some don't. The ones that don't last. They don't. How many, you've been around long enough now, because you said 8 years for you?
Yeah.
You've been around long enough to see, this guy, he's the next big thing. Dude, he's going to come in. He's going to wipe the shit with all of you guys. 2 years and done.
Gone.
Can't get any invites. Nobody wants to work with him.
Yeah, well, and I think some of that too is like you mentioned earlier, that we have a Highland Games culture. It's not. I'm not talking Scottish culture. I'm talking like we have a way of doing things in the Highland Games, and at some point you have to learn these things. This is my biggest knock on guys coming in for a year, 2 years, or even right out the gate and being professional. You don't know what we're doing. You don't know anything about this. there's a history there. There's a culture that you have to understand. Otherwise, you're missing out on the job, right?
Right, and some people do that really well, and some don't. That can get in, like Dan Tennyson as an example. He was amateur 2 years, and then went
Yeah.
pro. Like, but he threw far, but he was also a bro's bro, and he embraced that part of it. He understood that part of it.
Well, the reason Dan was able to pick up the Highland Games culture so fast is because he had mentors. He had people that they would practice every single Sunday that go out to the farm and they will practice.
Yeah.
And got guys who've been in the sport for 20, 30 years before him that he's hanging out with weekly. And like that's how he was able to pick this stuff up. Most people don't have that.
Absolutely. No, and that's it. Some people have it naturally, some people, and they get the help too. But there is a lot of elite NCAA athletes don't. It's hard because you're a solo athlete for so long. Your coach is coaching you a certain way. They're telling you don't talk to the other competitors. They're your enemies. Like, and you're on your like. Listen, in the Highland Games, especially when you're a pro. Listen, yeah, you could you're gonna see the same dude 6 more times this year, and you're with him. It's not 3 throws and you're done. You're with this guy for 7 hours,
and then you gotta go back to the hotel room. You're sharing a room with him, that's
exactly. So and that's where there's certain things that are going on right now that I think are trying to be promoted that I don't agree with. Like the fake rivalry things that are going on between the Americans and the Europeans. It is such nonsense. I don't is not what the sport needs. Dan and Matt had a rivalry, but they were also friends. You know what I mean? There was mutual respect between them.
The real rivalry is, it was even with Matt and Dan, it was fake. Because Matt beat Dan twice. Anytime they went head to head, Matt beat him only twice, ever. Dan always got him.
Yeah. And because Matt would get buried in the hammers because of guys like Jake Sullivan or whoever, or and his hammers Matt's hammers were great.
A 130
but not
hammer
against the GOAT.
130 hammer at that time wasn't good enough to get second.
Yeah.
It was getting fourth.
It's kind of wild how the sport evolves over time, how certain events peak at certain times. Right now, it's weird. Weight over bar is strangely one of the, and sheaf are the most competitive events.
Yeah.
With hammer right now, we'd all get our dicks kicked in 10, 15 years ago.
We're in a hammer slump, and I don't like it.
Yeah.
We got Vlad, Nick,
So
Damian Fisher. There's 5 guys doing good
cyclical.
hammers.
Yeah. And here in the U.S., my 15-foot average and my 16-foot peak are in most pro games here, out of a group of 8, I'm getting 6th with that.
Right. Yeah.
4th if misses factor in, but but if I go up to Canada or go to Scotland, I'm winning weight over bar, and I'm well, that's neat.
Yeah.
That's all. Neat. Fun. All right.
Yeah.
It's just different. What the priorities are.
They have that cautious knockoff bar kind of attitude, I don't want to hit it. But
you know what I mean? But
yeah.
Also obviously in America we're a bigger gym culture than most places too. So we get real dick strong, but it also means your hammers don't go as far.
Right.
But there's still a lot of good in the games. The problem is there's still a few key characters that are in charge in certain places that need to be removed, and they have just enough political pull that they're causing problems. But I think it takes athletes they have to be willing to put their time in to the festival itself, the game itself, if they want to get what they want. Somebody that's doing that really well right now is Eddie. I love Eddie to death.
Great guy.
And Eddie is kind of on the back. He's on the back 9 as far as his pro career goes. But what he's doing is he's training himself to be Steve Conway's replacement. He was doing a really good job in Phoenix before Phoenix itself, whatever. But he's also been the voice of reason for a lot of disputes in the Highland Games. A lot of time, I think there's, I was talking about this with somebody this morning. There's a lot of fundamental misunderstanding between ADs and athletes. A lot of times, I think a lot of ADs are a little bit on a power trip, and they view their athletes as, for lack of W-2 employees. You can tell them what to do. You can tell them what and they need you for their value. Where in reality, the best relationships are when the ADs treat the athletes as 1099 employees. And you are providing value, and they are coming to you because you are the valuable one, not the other way around. It's a fundamental, it's small, but it's a fundamental power difference where the best games always get the best athletes, and they get the best performances, and the ADs that struggle always struggle because of that. Well, we've always done it this way, so we're going to do it this way. Bro, if you're not staying up to date with the times, it don't matter.
Right.
You got to, if you're not putting the athletes in the best place to succeed, it doesn't matter. If you don't understand that, well, we pay why aren't athletes coming here for $250? Because the flight's $1,500 now. They ain't coming.
Right. Right.
Either adjust your prices or go down to an average games or understand why. There's a lot of pros that I've had this conversation with. The only reason they turn pro or they keep staying pro is because their wives are like, wait, you're going to spend $1,000 this weekend and you're to go do that? No, you're not doing that anymore.
Yeah.
You got to at least cover your costs. And that's, if you want the best of the best, that's what it takes. So I think sometimes there's a fundamental lack of communication between the athlete and the ADs, where we need more ADs who were former athletes who understand, but then think about hey, I'm not an athlete. I might not be an athlete anymore, or at least today I'm not. And my job is to put these athletes that I'm bringing in the best position possible. And for some people, that's hard because they can't embrace their own mortality.
Right.
Hey, I'm not good at this anymore. My job now is to grow the sport in a different way. Mm-hmm. And that's okay. But a lot of people, they struggle with that. Again, that's just for me. I've literally seen the cycle many years in a row. There's always been one group that thinks dude, we're going to be the ones that make Highland Games international. And we're going to get it on ESPN. And we're going to make all this money. This is a gold mine. People just haven't found it yet. And then 2 years later, they're like, oh, yeah, no. And they burn out because they don't understand. They fundamentally misunderstand what they're working with.
Right.
I've been around long enough to see that cycle 4 or 5 times now.
Yeah. It comes in waves, man. I think we're at a low point right now. We can go lower. I think we're on the uptick. We can easily be on the uptick if some bad actors step aside and the people that want to make.
There are some people in the games that need to be permanently removed.
Right.
For one reason or another, they need to be gone. They're no longer an advocate; they are now an obstacle, and they need to be removed. 100%
right.
agree.
And so if we need to remove these people, there needs to be someone to put in their place. So someone to pick up the slack where it has left off, and that requires.
And that's the problem. You're kind of nobody wants to step up, so these people are still in power. Some of them.
Yeah. There's a change of the guard happening now. A lot of good ideas are floating around. A lot of big ideas. A lot of little ones that are just going to make things better. But I think
You and I were talking about this obviously before the podcast. I think there's always been big ideas, and it doesn't mean you don't try. But I think sometimes we think more of ourselves than what we are. We're kind of a circus sideshow, and here's the thing. That's okay. It's okay that we're a circus sideshow. You know what I mean? We're bigger. We're cool people doing a cool thing, but as far as like watchability on TV, that's not that watchable. We're more of an in-person event.
So here's the thing too. Like, we're a circus sideshow compared to American football, right? But compared to strongman, we are neck and neck with what we can actually offer. We can offer everything professional strongman does. We just are doing it wrong. And I'll stand by that. Our formatting is dog shit compared to what they're doing. But they started strongman in America started in GNC parking lots, and now they're on some of the biggest stages for strength sports, which is still fringe.
So I agree with you in premise. I agree with you in certain aspects, but there's one part of strongman that exists that we, for the most part, don't have. There's a couple outlier athletes, but for the most part, we don't have. Because for the most part, strongman is not watched. Most strongman in America is not watched, is not appreciated. They're literally the only strongman events that actually get watched are the Arnold, the Rogue Invitational, the Shaw Invitational now gets some watch, and World's Strongest Man. Those are the only four that get any type of actual viewership, and for the most part, it's still World's Strongest Man, and obviously the Arnold has picked up quite a bit because they've been really pushing it. But you're talking, that is the 1% of strong people that compete in strongman. Maybe like 2%. But for the most part, most people that compete in strongman who are strong as fuck never see the light of day, never see more than 1,000 views, nothing. The reason that I think strongman still pulls an audience where Highland Games may never not is kind of at a more animalistic level, is they still have a circus sideshow thing. Part of the reason people show up is just to see how big Tom Stoltman really is.
Right. I mean,
and I think you see that a little bit in the Highland Games. There's just certain athletes that, like, I know I referenced him earlier, but we'll go with Colin as an example. He's probably our tallest athlete. Colin is 6'9" or 6'8", one of the two. Probably the same thing in the morning, probably 6'9" by the end of the day. People will literally just come up and take a picture with him. They didn't even see him throwing. There's like, oh, hey, here's this really big, tall guy. I'm going to go take a picture with him because the 150 pound girls feel tiny and cute next to him. And that's fine. Works. People literally would pay a ticket just to stand next to Colin. Like, that's his personality and things like that. And I think the general appeal of strongman, that's my word. Like, I think we have more of a ceiling than we think we do, and it's okay. We're doing it for the love of the sport. Doesn't mean we don't try to go bigger, but I think there has to be some type of a reality check. I think our ceiling, personally, would be an included event in the Rogue Invite. Included, not just included at the show, included in the broadcast.
It would, but see,
that's my opinion on. It doesn't mean it's right, but I think that's our ceiling. So that when they do CrossFit, event, strongman event, Highland Games event. I think that's our ceiling.
Right. What I'm saying is,
success.
we are 10 years away from being where strongman is right now. If everything goes right and everyone pulls their own weight, and we do all the correct things that we're supposed to do. We're 10 years away from the top 10 athletes having individual YouTube channels with 110,000 subscribers, right? Because they may not watch. Because if you look at like Brian Shaw's subscriptions on YouTube, that doesn't translate to watches on the Rogue live stream, but it does translate to overall knowledge and growth of the sport.
Sure.
So if we're talking like watching an individual event, we may never peak at 30,000 views per show, but we will have a wider base of fans. And we all talk about, and this is one thing I've been kind of harping on lately, is we all want more people into the sport. And I agree, we need more athletes. We need 10,000 athletes, not 6,000 worldwide. We need 10 at a
Correct.
minimum, as quickly as possible. I don't care where they come from. 10,000 as quickly as possible. But what we need is the fans that are not family members. We need genuine fans that don't participate in this shit, just watch it. And like we have to do better about developing that. That's the only way we'll ever meet Rogue standards. Or
and I think I think there's validity to what you're saying, but I would counter with the Highland Games, for the most part. Obviously, if you read Dave Webster's books and everything, predates the Greek Olympics in many ways.
I got
this
Dave
is not a
Webster's
new
propping
sport.
David Webster's book is propping up my microphone right now.
But like we predate the Greek Olympics in many ways. So I understand. I understand what you're saying, and I can see it. But I think the chances of that hitting, because you're saying 10 years down the road,
Yeah.
the problem that ends up happening more often than not, the people that you need to stay with it, that want to see that 10-year growth, have to understand they're not going to be the athletes that are receiving the benefit.
That's a tough part, is to convince people that,
And that's where
I
think it's always cyclical.
Yeah,
and they
you need to
move
be
on
an
other
advocate.
things, is understanding understanding that if you're working towards that, you may never see the benefit. You may help with it, but it's going to be for somebody else.
Yeah.
And in this sport, I think you see a lot of people don't have 10-year careers.
Right.
I think the more average for the sport is probably closer to 5.
Well, and to be fair, like, just like, and this is just humans in general. 10 years is like the spectrum, right, of like interest in things. Like my dad for a lot of years was really into football. He went away from it for like 10 years. He just really didn't watch football. He grew up playing it. He just wasn't interested in it. For 10 years, he didn't watch it. He just didn't care. He watches it now again, not as much as he used to, but he's like, I'll see what they're up to. Like your interest, everyone's interests change. And, some of us are, obsessed with, all sorts of things. And, we just have to, the people that are obsessed, like me, we got to find them and funnel them in the right direction, so we're not wasting our time. So they can see growth. There will be metrics attached to these things. They're like, okay, what we're doing is working, and that will help keep the fire burning for 10 years.
And I think and like I say, I'm never, I try to live by this of like, I'm not trying to be a goalkeeper for somebody, like for somebody's success. But I also I try to live in reality as much as I can and embrace what I love about the sport is we are an in-person sport. Mm-hmm. And I think that is our advantage over strongman, over powerlifting, over Olympic lifting. Like, we, generally speaking, have more people in attendance at our events than any of those other sports. Like, I wouldn't shoot. I would say by a large margin, we have more people in attendance at our peak events than those other sports.
Yeah, but like, they're not coming to watch just us, right? People are coming to watch
but we're part of the experience. Like, so obviously you mentioned you haven't been at Pleasanton, but you've been at Enumclaw, which has a good experience. Oh, you haven't?
No.
Sorry, you mentioned knowing Jay, so I thought you'd been there. Okay,
we've communicated.
Gotcha. So I will reference Pleasanton. So as the shortest pro at Pleasanton, I won Chief Toss at Pleasanton 2 years ago. For me, that's kind of a peak moment in my career. At
a good pull.
Basically a world-class event, I won an event. Hard to do at an event like that in front of a stand of close to 20,000 people.
Right.
Powerlifting don't have that.
No.
Even at the Arnold, there's not that many people. Yes, the crowd looks big. That room ain't that big. There may be 1,000 people in there, but it's all packed in together, so it looks like a lot of people. We have more in-person spectators than any of those other sports, on average and at our peak.
So this is what I'm getting at too. Is there are 20,000 people in stands watch you pull a nasty ass sheaf pull? What was it, like 32 feet?
Yep, 32 at Pleasanton, man.
Yes, I remember that. It was great. It was a great pull. Do they know who you are? Or do they follow you on Instagram? Because you have an Instagram.
I actually did get a lot of followers on Instagram after that, but yeah.
Okay, and like, are they keeping up?
But no, not in the way you're driving towards. Like, I understand,
right?
And
like they don't follow the
sport promoting it for sure.
We need to build, and I don't know if I'm the guy to do this. Probably not. Someone needs to build this a way for people to keep up with the sport, follow the pro circuit.
Yep.
Like, see what numbers we're doing.
Me, I think that would be a simple thing as an AD. So at a game like Pleasanton, just again using them as an example, that is a world-class event every year. Because they host Worlds like every other 3 years. So like one every 3 years, Pleasanton is hosting Worlds. But the other 2 years, it's basically a world preview, and then schmucks like me. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And I'm also here, and me and Danny are going to do our best. But the point is, what you could do, simple thing like that, is in the brochure that they hand out to everybody that shows up, or in the stands, where they put everybody's Instagram handles, their preferred social media handles out there. Hey, you take a video of this guy that you like, send it to him, tag him in it.
Yeah.
And that would be an easy thing. It would be completely cost efficient, and you would instantly increase your visibility in the sport.
Yeah, it's a start.
Yeah, and I think, but it'd be an easy thing of leaning into what you're already doing. Because, like, you know, my struggle is because I've seen Matt Vincent and Throwsbros try to lean into like the live events. And they worked hard at it. They pushed hard to get those live streams to work.
The formatting's wrong. It's too many events.
I agree. I do agree there's some formatting errors, but they did not get the views they were looking for.
Well, they had shit technology too. Half those live streams are blurry.
Yes.
Even on upload.
Part of it is we're out in the middle of a field somewhere. Half the time the service sucks, or there's no Wi-Fi. There's no direct connection that we can feed. That's a problem that's kind of built in. We're not built in. We're not throwing at fields where there's built-in like hardline DSLs where we can make sure we can get the good internet feed to feed it too, which
we have
becomes a technology
now.
problem.
So just everyone listening, if you want to live stream games and have it high quality, we have Starlink. It is actually reasonable. Like, it's not crazy expensive. And they're portables. You just put them in a backpack. Throwing that out there. But hey, we are coming up on time. We are quite a ways into this. Do you?
Yes, we are.
Do you have anything you want to plug? Any games you want people to go to?
I mean, I love the Rio Grande Festival. Mona does a phenomenal job putting that together. My schedule this year, so it's Enumclaw, my 2 Canadian games, Georgetown and Port Hope, and then my next game after that this year will be Enumclaw. And I told Jay, last year, if he'll allow me, I plan on retiring at Enumclaw. And when I turn 40, it'll be about 3 weeks after I turn 40 in a couple years. That's the game I'm going to, after I throw sheaf, I'm going to take my shoes off and we're going to be done. That's how much I love that games. If you have the opportunity to, as a Highland Games athlete, get your ass out there. It is one of the best games experiences in the country. Jay does a phenomenal job. The crowd is really informed as well as interactive. Yes, understand you're not going to throw you're not going to throw a big hammer there. That's fine. As long as you can accept that, everything else goes fine.
But the weights and stones, you can make up for it.
Yeah, that area of Washington is beautiful, and the crowd is awesome. So if you're someone who performs well under heights, especially the heights for the crowd, bro, it is a phenomenal game. So that would be I'm not attached to that game at all. I'm just an athlete that shows up and puts his work into the crowd and make sure there's people buying me beers and stuff by working them. But again, my favorite trick as an athlete is work the crowd until they're buying me beers. That's when I know I got them. But that game is as someone who does AD games, that's a game that I'm like, I aspire to the level that is put together there. Iron Thistle, what Sterling now, what Jeremy and John did there, that's something I'm like, what they did was really awesome. And when I do games, that's what I try to do.
Awesome. All right, guys, that's it. And as always, throw far. God bless.